Well, none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots, yeah. None of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots. I'm telling you now, the truth, the truth. Telling you, yeah, the truth, the truth. You have to go back to the roots, the roots. Go to the roots, to the roots. Yeah, man, you know, this is Benjamin out of the Smiling Coast, West Africa, Gambia, representing for the one and only Abu, the big man you don't know, the Soninke warrior, the man that brings the truth. Soninke warrior, the sign of enlightenment. The Soninke warrior, the righteous and the true African. Abu, reveal the truth to them, you know, no matter how them try run from it, because none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Yes, we have to dig back the roots, yeah. Fire!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Afridamus Report. I'm your host, Afridamus. I want to welcome all of you to today's show. St. James, Amilcar, Bernard, and all the people I've been mentioned, welcome to today's show. So today, the topic is about some of the toxic African behaviors that people would call, culture, because it is Africans themselves calling it that. As you can see on the thumbnail, I have the toxic aunties there. But to even top this off, someone sent me a video. The video is from the UK. Shout out to the individual that sent it to me. They call it African, but it was a Nigerian lady that slapped a teenage girl, and the video went viral. I have that video here, to show you in a little bit. And also, I'm going to show you another video of a show in Nigeria where they were having this discussion. Hey, MC, welcome. African Parasite, welcome. So I'm going to touch on that, and I'm going to give you real life experience on toxic African cultures. Because, ladies and gentlemen, how many Africans have you run into, who are from, Africa? Typically, they would tell you, oh, in our culture, in our culture. But now you have to ask, what are they promoting to say in our culture? Because I had this conversation with someone and they said to me, oh, African culture is better than Western culture. And by the way, generally you will be talking to someone, because Africans like to do this, where something that is their tribal culture, but in the Western term, they would attribute this to all Africans. So this is why I'm using it interchangeably, so you understand, because it seems to be something that, like online, many Africans seem to relate to this type of behaviors, and they call it a culture. And this individual, I said, okay, tell me what makes you think African culture is better than Western culture. And he started listing the things. He said, oh, the children respect elders, they greet elders, and they don't talk back. Okay, pretty generic things, right? I said, okay, if that culture is something that is positive whatsoever, let me lay this out. Okay, you said in the West, the children, they do not respect the elders, right? But if those disrespectful children are the ones growing up and their culture is benefiting them, i.e., they are able to create things, develop, their country, and they see results, then I think that culture is better. But people should understand, you do not have a culture just for the sake of it. That's not what culture is about. Culture is about, problem solving, results, things that surround your entire lifestyle. That's what a culture is. But not in the African context. Like he said, oh, they want you to greet them, they want you to respect them. And they don't realize, look, You don't deserve no respect. Nobody deserves any respect. Even me that's sitting here, I cannot force you to say, respect me. That's not how it works. That's not what life is about. But as you see on the thumbnail, especially the African aunties, they don't seem to understand that concept. They seem to be the most toxic ones. You would see someone, no relation to them, they would appoint themselves as your auntie to say, oh, I'm the same age as your mother. Oh, the same age. Like, lady, I don't know you. I don't care if if you at the same age, because they think they deserve respect because of their age. You don't deserve respect because of your age. I mean, there are old fools. We see them all the time. They don't seem to respect the concept of people being individuals. They don't respect that. I'm able to speak on this because I didn't just live my entire life in the Western world. I grew up in Africa, and I did not, for instance, um, I don't believe I disrespect people. You know, um, I say hello to people. It doesn't matter if you're African or not. If someone doesn't say hello to me, it's not gonna hurt my feelings. It doesn't mean anything to me, to be quite honest. I even had this an encounter one time with a Nigerian fellow, and I was talking to this guy. He just stopped me in the middle of a important conversation. He's like, "You did not greet me. You did not say good morning, sir. I am your elder." And I just laughed in his face. I was like, "Look, man," I said, "have you ever thought about maybe I don't care about saying good morning to you?" I said, "That's my right. I don't have to say good morning to you." But for some reason, he wanted me to say good morning to him. If not, that is not respectful. And he's like, "Oh, you are very westernized." So I'm going to show you some of the things that they would say is Western and African culture. And these things are very toxic. I don't believe that these are cultures. This is people's behavior. And when they get caught in it and they realize that, hey, maybe this type of practice we are practicing in our households, because you notice these people that practice this quote unquote what they call culture, when they come in contact with other people, the people that they believe they respect, how come they don't practice that same quote unquote culture? They do not. They don't go to their jobs, to the white people, and say, "Oh, this is my culture." No, they give you they give you the paperwork, what the orientation is, what the company's rules are. You don't see them saying, "Oh, this is my culture." They don't do that. And the things that they promote as culture is always, if you notice, these aunties, because I see it amongst the women quite a bit. You see it even here online. Just I'm gonna digress a little bit. There was a lady here. You can go look in my comment section in one of the videos. She's very upset. She called me a hypocrite because my views did not match her view. Okay? And this woman from day one, when she came here, when she came to this channel, first she's like, "You can speak for all of us." And I asked her, I said, "Where are you from?" She said, "Sierra Leone." I said, "Oh, it so happened I did in fact live in Sierra Leone." Most of the people that watch me, before you attack me, you have to pay attention to what I'm saying. I'm not just saying things just for the sake of it. I did not only live in one African country. This is what you must know. And then she was like, "Oh," I said, "So you see, I can speak on these things." But then, when a devil comes in the midst of good people, you have to keep watching, because the thing is, for me, when you show up here, um, you can say flattering things. It don't matter to me. But at some point it's about the truth. That's why we are here. I'm not here for somebody to say, oh, Afridanos, you're so good at this or not. It's about what the truth is. But long story short, this woman, obviously from the get-go, she has a motive. She's one of those toxic African aunties. I can totally see it. One of those people that are like, oh, you have to greet me. I am your auntie. Ma'am, I don't know you. I don't have to greet you. And everything that they push forward to say that is what the culture is to give themselves advantage and disadvantage you. Look, most of you don't understand. Living in most African households, I've seen it with my own eyes. They treat the children like slaves. And most of the time, it's not even directly the child's own parent, it is the extended factor or people, these people that are appointing themselves as their aunties. They're the ones that are coming with their own BS ideas and calling it a culture. Just like this woman that was here trying to attack me, talking about, oh, because I didn't share her views, now all of a sudden that makes me a hypocrite. No, ma'am, you are the hypocrite because I'm not saying things that I'm not living by. I'm not saying, oh, this is wrong, and then turning around doing it and trying to justify it for people. That's not how I live my life. That would make me a hypocrite. But if you think I should just say the things you want me to say, that would be a problem. But I don't want to keep you waiting. I'm going to show you the video, the encounter between, you know, a teenager, black teenager in the UK, and this Nigerian auntie. And by the way, it's just that this woman, she's from Nigeria, but this seems to be across the board, to be quite honest, especially West Africans. But Nigerians tend to be more, they take it too far. They're the ones that somehow they think people, 'cause they are animated. And for some reason, even here online, for example, some of the people we talk to, you guys have seen the interviews, it's so hard to get them to understand that, the world doesn't revolve around you. Just because your culture, you know, you certain culture you practice, it doesn't mean the whole of Africa practice it. I mean, even if the streets that you live on, you would see that you are not, the way you guys live your life in your homes, the people next door don't live like that. You see? And but most of these people, they don't tend to understand that. They want to take this, you know, way far. You would see men, for example, some of the men in certain cultures, they would say, oh, it is my culture to marry 4 wives, 6 wives. And they would justify it by the culture, right? But the women, they don't like that. But these same women, too, you would see them say the most toxic things, try to practice it, and they say it is a culture for you to live by. This is why they would say, my forefather. That's why I asked somebody, I said, where's your forefather now? They are dead. Okay? You're living your life. Use your common sense. Maybe, just maybe, whatever those people were doing, if that's what worked for them, cool. But if you want to practice this, it will be a problem. And a lot of these things that they call culture, if they practice it in a fair and a just society, they would be prosecuted. This is facts. And I'm going to show you here somebody who calling something culture. And this lady, she's just the example, but she's not the only one that thinks this way. She's not the only one. Where do you think she learned it from? And I'm going to play a discussion also to show you the mindset, where people try to justify these toxic behaviors. Because even if you look at why most Africa is behind, development wise, financial, you look at it, what is the practice in most of these places, corruption, nepotism, and they justify all this. They justify all of it and say, oh, don't worry, this is our culture. You know, one thing I've never, I've never lived by those rules to say, like they will say, I am your auntie. I'm like, hey, we're not related. I don't call anybody auntie that I'm not related to. 100% from the time I lived in Africa all the way to now. Because these quote unquote aunties, they only want to be your auntie when they need something from you or when they want to abuse you. But you try needing these people and see, then they would remind you, oh, no, 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 go to your parents. But you told me, you were my auntie. So they don't care about all that. They only care about what they want from you. So that's why when these, African ladies come to you with their wigs saying, I am your auntie, tell her, no, ma'am, you are not my auntie. Because if you accept that, you're going to end up catching a slap from her. And she would say, but I am your auntie. This is what they base it off of. But I don't want to keep you waiting. Let me show you the video here and we'll get into the further discussion. By the way, this video is made by some people called Sahara TV. I'm guessing they're in Nigeria. Now, I get it. The person that sent this to me said, oh, you see how, you never support black Americans, we're being accused here, by these Africans. Yes, you're right. It's not about me not supporting black people. I'm not against black people, If I talk about you and I speak about what is happening, trust me, it means I really love you guys. That's why I talk about you, to to point things out that are toxic. But this is not about black Americans today. But you see, black Americans are being accused here. This woman is being represented as an African American. This event didn't even happen in America. This is in the UK. So I want to clear it. If you see the video they put there, African American woman attacks girl for being disrespectful to her, is a complete lie. The woman is not African American. I don't think she's ever even been to America. She's from Africa, the country of Nigeria. She's a Nigerian woman, not an African American. Just wanted to give that disclaimer.
Than my daughter. Do you hear me? This is how you behave outside.
Stop shouting in my face.
Shut up! Don't ever talk.
So she's attacking a complete stranger. She's saying, oh, you're the same age as my daughter. This is how you're behaving. Ma'am, this is not your house. This is not your daughter. It's not even your country. But you guys see how obnoxious and loud she is. She thinks the world revolves around her, just like the woman that you guys see that came in my comment section trying to tell me, how I should speak, what I should talk about. Try accusing me of getting my talking points from other YouTuber. But when I shut that down, she went on to, express her grievance as if she really honestly believed this show is set up for her. So she's no different than this woman you see in here. This is the mindset, because they think the world revolves around them. So somehow, they have the right to get in people's face. But what they don't understand, whenever you step and get into people's face, don't be surprised if they return the favor. This is a teenager. You don't know her. You're not her mom. And she's telling you, I don't know you.
You don't shout me. What the hell? I will beat you. You won't beat me. You won't touch me. Don't shout me. I don't know you. Look at you. Look at you. I don't know you. Yeah, I call myself a black girl. I'm what?
Did you guys see that? She put her hands on her first. Now you guys see why so many of these, Africans, you were like, oh, these people, they cannot express themselves because they came from a place, from homes, most of them, where the only thing they know is violence. Imagine you're a kid, you're looking at, so that's why you see this, some of these Africans, they're grown men, they can't even look you in the eye, because when they were kid, you look in even their own father's eye, they're like, hey, you are looking at me in the eye? You are looking at me in the eye. They call that disrespect. So it's like they are just beating their children down. They are beating them down, just for them to feel good about themselves. But they call it culture. You are not supposed to look me in the eye. You are not supposed to question me. You are not supposed to ask anything. So this woman, she has that attitude, and she's out there. It looks like they're at a McDonald's in the UK. She put her hand on the teenager first, but the teenager clapped back. You guys seen it, right? The good news is this woman, she got arrested for this behavior. And I hope all you violent African aunties that are watching this, I hope you're taking heed here. When you go out there, this violent behavior that you commit on your own children, and then you go outside and pretend like, oh, you guys are the nicest people. And then you want to do it, to other people's kids, you're going to end up in jail. You're going to end up in jail. And she got arrested. Let's see. Bernard said, Afridamos, your children are every African elder's children. They have the right to scold them. No, Bernard, they do not. If they want that, they should contribute in paying the bills for the kids. That's the example I gave you. Like, they only want to be your elder when they want to practice this toxic behavior on you. The fries that the young lady is holding, do you think that woman came and said, oh, I am your auntie, let me buy the fries for you? They will never do that. My thing is, how come the things that they beat their chest on and say is culture is always the toxic thing? You never see them buy gifts. You never see them, contribute to any of these kids' life. In fact, you walk up to the door, get away from me. Where's your own parents? I don't know you. That's what they would tell you. But when it's time to, put the smack down, now all of a sudden, I am your auntie. We are all black. In fact, I'm about to play a show in Nigeria. They talked about this, right? And I want you guys to hear the discussion here. And my thing is, quite frankly, if you represent yourself to say, I'm your auntie, you put your hands on my kid, that's going to be a problem, people. That would be a problem. Because what gives you the right to do that? Maybe, just maybe in your home, you beat your kids. That's what you do there. But not everyone lives their lives like that. These people, they yell at their kids, beating their kids. And then people are shocked when these kids, they grow up, they have so much resentment against them, and they turn into abusers themselves because that's what they saw. This lady, maybe when she was young, I guarantee you, there was another auntie who put the smack down on her. Several of those aunties. So now they think it's okay. You have to realize the way you think, the way you practice, that's not how everyone lives their lives. I've tried to tell people this, Like they would say, oh, this is our culture, African. No, no, no. Tell us it is your culture. It is your culture, not everyone's culture. If this is what you practice, you should just practice that. Let me see here. Oh, there we go. The Cure. Yeah, that's the lady who wrote, you know, her crazy comment. She said, oh, I called you a hypocrite because you're not consistent on your talking points. The only thing you're consistent on is Caucasians are always correct, and above all, when it comes to everything black. Ma'am, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Anyone that watches me here, would totally contradict what you're saying. That's how you interpret it. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Okay? I'm very consistent in delivering the truth. And on this channel, I mostly analyze videos. So you want to disagree with me that when I said the Ahmaud Arbery that got killed, I said it doesn't look like it's racial to me. You believe it's racial. So fine. That's what you want to believe. I wasn't there. You weren't there. If that's what you believe, you can believe that. But how does that make me a hypocrite? I didn't go look at a case and say, oh, this is racial, this similar case, and then I come back and say this isn't racial. That's what it's called. That's what a hypocrite is. You don't even know the meaning of the words that you're using here. I mean, you can, you don't have to like what I'm saying, but that doesn't mean that's hypocrisy. You don't even know the meaning. Okay. I'm going to play this video, this discussion, and it's going to blow your mind, right? People, how these people, they feel justified. Again, it's the African aunties, quote unquote aunties, who practice this. Because they have to be right, no matter what. They have to be right. Hey, oh, oh, your mom didn't train you well. First of all, those are fighting words. So you are saying this person should respect you, but the first thing you're doing is attacking their mom. Can you believe that? The first thing they do is attack your mama. That's what they do, okay? Then they turn around and say, you should respect me. Ma'am, you don't know my mom. Why are you talking about my mama? But this is what they do. But I'll allow, the professionals, all woman crew, to give us their 2 cents on why you, a complete stranger, can smack your kid down just because you're all black, just because it's the culture. They didn't ask you if this is the culture. This is the problem with African. See, when people generalize things, it's the same people they come back. Oh, you cannot generalize us. But then when they do this type of things and people, try to call it out, they say, oh, it is our African culture. But I don't beat my kids. Somebody else don't beat their kids. They don't yell at their kids. Now you come in contact with my kid who didn't go through all this, BS, but I'm African. And now you want to practice your African culture on him. You see him at the mall. For some reason, you don't like what he's doing. And you come up to him, he's going to remind you and say, hey, look, lady, I don't know you. Get out of my face. And these African aunties, you tell them that they're going to, oh, that's disrespectful. For them, they cannot just have words. If they interpret it as they don't like it, they would have to attack you, as you guys saw here. The girl said, you're a fool. I don't know you. Uh-oh, you calling me a fool? Yes, ma'am. You're acting like a fool. That's not grounds to put your hand on somebody. That's no ground. You know, people beating their kids down like they're runaway slaves, and then you want to go out there and do that same thing to other people's children, and you don't realize they are not like that. You don't realize that. They are not like that, but you want to beat someone's kid. It is a criminal offense. It is a criminal offense. I don't have to greet you. Oh, I'm old. You have to greet me. Hey, maybe I don't feel like greeting you. That's not a crime. I mean, it's a nice thing to do, but just because if the person doesn't greet you doesn't mean they are disrespecting you. That's not what it's about. You know, maybe in that culture, wherever people are, like it matches there. It's like you go out, you see people greet one another. Cool. You come in a different environment. Even if you go to different African countries, it's not even like that. I can assure you. It's not even like that. Different areas, different people practice different things. But not to these aunties. Here we go.
I think a couple of days ago, about a woman allegedly trying to discipline somebody else's child, maybe like a teenager. And obviously, there was a back and forth. The woman raised her hand, and the girl obviously responded by hitting the woman again. Of course, this video went viral. And it raises the question, how do you discipline somebody else's child? What right do we as parents have to correct another person's child? Not just within Nigeria, especially outside Nigeria, when the cultures and way of life is different from ours. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that woman's way of shouting at her, yelling at her in public, where everybody was looking at her, and then going ahead to raise a hand, was that the appropriate behavior? Let me start with you, Mary.
I don't think it was the appropriate behavior the way it ended. But I feel now, using the assumption that she may have been correcting, I don't want to use discipline, because usually when we use discipline, we think that someone came, at least Nigerian context, someone came with a cane to whip you. But this seemed like a woman had corrected a young lady in front of her and said something about that's not the way to act in public.
You see, she's going to try to continue to justify this. Like, ma'am, you are not the police. You are not this child's parent. You live in a completely different system. Who died and appointed you as the moral police? But hey, you don't have to like how this young lady was behaving, but if you're so bothered by it, just leave. Why do you need to, quote unquote, go correct her? That's not your job. As long as she's not breaking any laws, because you understand, like, sometimes, these people, they ignore what the law says. You live in the Western world, and the Western culture and your culture are completely different. But you want to enforce what you think is the right thing. Maybe the way the woman was behaving, that teenager can say, I don't like the way you're behaving. Imagine if we just walk around society thinking we have the right to correct other people's behavior. What type of world would we be living in? I've seen a lot of these aunties, quote unquote, the way they behave. I don't like it. But do you think I go up to them and try to correct it? No. Hey, you have the right to behave that way, as long as it's not, hindering my life, my movements. Life is good. You live your life, I live mine. But let's allow her to continue how she's going to justify it. She's telling us this in the Nigerian context.
And I don't see anything wrong with an older person telling a younger person whether the person is known to me or a stranger. That's not how young lady, that's not how to act in public. But
Bernard said, Afridamus, have you ever been disciplined by someone else while living in Africa? Actually, no. No. Like I'm I'm being serious. Like me growing up as a child, I was free to express myself. You know, nobody is telling me, oh, I am an elder. Don't ask me this question. You know, I live my life freely. My mom or dad, they don't tell me, oh, you can't ask this question, you can't ask that. You know, no outsider. I cannot think of an outsider even thinking about disciplining me. You know, if I'm not related to you, we have no contact. You're not my auntie, you're not my grandma, I don't know you. You know, you're just somebody in the neighborhood. I would respect you because in Africa, that's how it goes. The kids respect the elders. I'm not saying I disrespect anyone. I do not. But I don't live by these rules that they try to surround themselves by. In fact, I remember one time there was this older guy that, you know, quote unquote, you know, discipline, beat up one of my younger brothers. And, you know, we were all young. I went and confronted him, you know, and I told him, you know, most of the things I'm saying here. And I warned him, I said, don't you ever put your hand on my brother. I said, who the hell do you think you are? You know, I had a knife in my hand because I know he was older and stronger. I was a kid back then. So no, we don't live by that.
I think it was the girl's response to her that degenerated, you know, into what almost became a physical fight. So for me, what I saw there was just so totally wrong on the young girl's side. Now there's also the part of Nigerian adults where we have this, where we think we're entitled to respect from everybody and anyone. So this is a new.
Did you guys see? I didn't even say it. The lady said it. They think they deserve respect. Okay? They think they deserve respect. I'm telling you, I have seen this quote unquote anti game a long time ago. In fact, I'll tell you a story. That was like two years ago. You know, one of my aunties, I mean, this was a real auntie for a fact, people. She visited the United States. She lived in New York. And her daughter, you know, her and her daughter, they call me on the phone. And we're talking. She's like, oh, she's like, I saw your picture, but I'm not happy with what I saw on your head. I said, what do you mean on your head? I said, you mean my hair? She said, yes, you should cut it. And I was like, I asked her, I said, who the hell are you to tell me what I should do with my hair? I said, you don't like it? She said, no. I said, well, you don't have to do the same style. You know, and she's like, oh, but you know, we don't approve of it. I said, I could care less what you approve of. I said, it's my hair. Like, what are you talking about? But they would do stuff like this. And then they would turn around and say, like, if you don't respond the way they want you to respond, they would say, oh, you are disrespectful. So you you picking up the phone, calling a grown man who made the decision to do a beautiful hairdo, and you're telling the person, oh, I don't like your hair. Imagine you walk up to them and tell them you don't like their hairstyle. They would say you are disrespectful. So it's a two-way street. They don't think you are an individual. You could be 50 years old, but they will say, I am older than you. So therefore, I should be able to tell you how to be, how to act, how to speak. And the sense of entitlement. You guys heard it, right? You guys thought I was making it up. These African aunties are like that. They are like that. They have this entitlement attitude. That's what forces them to put the smack down on younger girls. That's why you saw over there in the UK, this Nigerian woman, beat up, the girl because she didn't like her behavior. Man, you got to watch out for these teenagers. If they are not your kids, please leave them alone. Okay? If they are not bothering you, just keep going. Just leave them alone. Eat your French fries, your burger, or wherever. It looks like they're at McDonald's. But she couldn't mind her own business. She had to come tell her behavior. She doesn't approve of her behavior. This is crazy.
World that we need to navigate.
My first thought is, have we lost what it means to have good manners? Good manners from the side.
Ryan asked, I wonder if they demand respect from white kids. Ryan, I'm going to come to that. And you're going to hear that in this conversation. Remember in the beginning, I told you, they like to say African culture is superior to Western culture, white people's culture. But now you're going to find out, just like most of the ones that come here and try to argue with me, you would see they always reference white people's culture as the better culture. So they themselves, for some reason, this is what they say all the time. And you will hear that in this conversation here. No, they would never walk up to a white kid. They will never do that. They know better. The culture only applies to the black kids, to discipline, quote unquote, discipline the black kid. You don't know this kid. How do you know this kid is not Baby Killer? That's his nickname, Baby Killer. He's probably shot few people in the past or stabbed people. Now you're giving him or her a reason, to do this to you. You don't know this.
Side of you as an adult, and good manners from the child, in mutual respect from adult to child. I felt that the girl was very rude and did not use good manners. And because we know it was a foreign land, it was obviously a foreign land, but the woman felt like you are a black person, like you probably an African. I think that when
you hear that, the woman felt like you are a black person. You guys see why I keep saying these people, their thinking is so myopic. So now, just because the child is a black person, okay, amongst all the other white kids, if you truly even just respect that it's a black person and you say there's stigmas, why would you even embarrass that child there? There's white kids, there's everyone there. You chose to walk up to the kid that looks African, to embarrass her, get in her face, and you don't think she's gonna snap back at you? These Africans generally, they're afraid of other people who are not Africans. They only have heat and energy for Africans. For Africans. Me, myself, I've had to put, a couple of Nigerian aunties in their place. And they're like, hey, aren't you African? I say, what's that have to do with anything? So just because I'm African like you think now that gives you license, to talk to me any kind of way. Oh, you could be the same age as my son. I said, but I'm not your son. Maybe you talk to your son like that, but you can't talk to me that way. Don't talk to me like that, lady. I would slap you back to Tuesday. It was on a Monday, but whatever. Oh, Friday, I forgot.
Whenever we take our children to the Western world, we should not. We should understand that even the white people, across all race, there's something called good manners. Good manners is respect for adults, opening the doors for someone. You don't slam the door back on the person.
Ma'am, it's called common courtesy. They make everything about age. They think, because it's a one-way street. People, most of you, like I've seen this in African homes, okay, where, like for example, the other day I was talking to my sister. She's on the phone, and then she yells at her kid and said, "Hey, come over here, go get me water." I'm like, I was like, but don't you have legs? And don't you have legs? Go get your own water. Like they would literally call you and say, "Oh, come and grab my plate. You just ate in this plate." Ma'am, the least you can do is get up and take your own plate to the sink. You can't even get up and go get your own water. These are slave drivers. They have the slave driving mentality. They would break these African kids down before they get out there. Treat them like they, it's like worse than the slave master. Imagine your own parent doing that to you. So she's calling common courtesy, trying to make it like it's an age thing. No, if I'm walking through doors and there's somebody behind me, or close by, I'll open the door and say, "Go ahead." That's normal. That's just normal courtesy. But Ryan, remember I told you the white thing is gonna come in. They're not gonna want to admit it, but they see white culture as superior. But they will tell you they will say, "Oh no, the white people don't have manners." One minute they would say they don't have manners, but another minute they would give you example of their culture being the normal culture. And by the way, this is like people are saying here, it's social norms, but they always call it a culture. And these things, they need to change, because a lot of these people, the way they act, what they call culture, is criminal behavior. These are behaviors that would get you prosecuted, like this woman in the UK who went to jail. They're over there, treating the children like slaves. Like slaves. I remember, like in Gambia, right? They do that too, like where someone you're not even related to, they will be like, "Hey, let me send you to go do this." Look, when I was a kid, right, back then over there, they didn't have cell phones. So literally, believe it or not, the kids were the text message. They would send kids back and forth like text message. It's like, "Hey, go tell this person, such and such, such and such and such." You get to that person, and the person is like, "No, tell them this and this and that." You go back, you tell that person, and the person sends you back. Literally, the child was the text message. In that hot burning sun, you would see a child running back and forth, until the kid probably collapses. But see, one thing I never allowed them to treat me like a text message. So I'm hanging out, with my friends and this one guy, because we sit under the big tree. Like when it's hot, they have these trees called neem tree. It's really cool under those trees. So I'm sitting there, and this guy comes. He's like, "Hey, look, I wanna send you to you guys remember I told you the kids were the text message. Literally, he's like, "I want to send you." It's like you type your text, hit send. He said, "I want to send you to go deliver this message to such and such." I said, "Go deliver a message." I said, "But that's none of my business. That's your business." He's like, "What? I'm the one you're talking to like that?" I said, "But why can't you go do it yourself?" He literally told me, he said, "It's because the sun is hot." And I was like, so I'm not going to feel the hot burning sun? Is that what this is? Hey, look, my thing is, and my attitude have always been that none of those people feed me. They don't clothe me. If I have issues, they're not going to help me. So why do I have to be your text message? I don't have to do that. Because the home where I was coming from, in my home, my parents, they allowed me to express myself. They allowed me to be who I want to be. You're not about to just abuse me like that, but that's what they do. They're sending, like some of them you would see, they would even go past their own child and send other people's kids in the hot burning sun. So all this, this is not only in Nigeria. I've seen this in Gambia as well. This is not only in Nigeria. I'm just saying, you see, African Parasite is saying he was playing with his friends. Some auntie came and pinched them for going in. So it's across the board. But let's hear this auntie tell us.
Behind you, you greet people, you're polite. These are good manners regardless of culture. Now, the woman shouting is a typical Nigerian woman who feels like their own way of correcting you is to dominate you, and like it's a dominance. Yes, they want to dominate you.
Did you guys hear that? She said it. The typical Nigerian way of dominating you. It's not only in the movies. You see it even in real life. Like I said, I've encountered this, and you guys have seen the real video here. And I can assure you, it's not only in Nigeria as well. Okay? But again, every 5 African you meet, one is a Nigerian, the most populous country in Africa. So sometimes it would be more prevalent to see, Nigerian aunties behaving this way because they want to be loud. You know why they are doing that? They want to embarrass you. So you are purposely trying to embarrass a teenager, but you don't expect them to react a certain way. Come on now. But let's hear how she's going to try to justify this.
Already trying to address it, and I think that we should use this pattern to also address it, that when you want to correct someone, it's not by you shouting the person down. If the person cowers down to you, does not mean you've achieved any positive change.
So she had the duty to be an example to that girl, no matter what that girl was doing there. And the language of correction wouldn't have been for her to raise her voice. She had thought to play to the gallery, raise her voice, gather, pity party, and see to portray the girl as
the home video way.
That's why I say yes. To portray the girl as someone mannerless, let me call a crowd, that kind of thing. So, and that got the reciprocation that you saw. So this is a girl who does not have the shaming that we had growing up. There's this shaming, even when...
You see, you guys remember what what I said about the shaming tactics? This is why you see didn't your mother raise you right? Like, ma'am, you don't know my mom. Don't talk about my mama. I told you guys this, right? So they go around doing this type of things, thinking they are entitled to it. But you notice none of them are saying this woman needed to mind her own business. Like, it's none of her business. Okay? Like, I go around, if I'm at the mall or out and about, I see some teenagers, behaving a certain way. You think I'm gonna go get in their face? They're like skateboarding in the park, in the parking lot, whatever. Look, the only time I would talk to them is if they're skating towards my car, close to my car, trying to ding it. Now, I can say something to you, but I don't go around I don't think it crosses my mind to talk to somebody's kid. Because I know when I was a kid, I didn't put up with that. You're not about to come up to me and I remember the street I lived on in the Gambia, there was a man there who was notorious for that. But for some reason, he's never tried that on me. Because I was notorious for retaliating back. So he knew to avoid it. You think he practiced that culture on me? He didn't. So they know who to pick on. And I assure you, these same people that act this way, they're not going to allow someone else to do that to their kid. They won't allow that. And sometimes I used to think when I was growing up, this is like the village people that act this way. Because we would have some of our relatives, they come from the village to come and visit. You know, if you lived in Africa, in the city, you guys know this. You have relatives that come from the village, you know, if you're from the village. So my folks originally, you know, are from the village. And you know, they would come from the village, and you know, because in the village is small, where everything is like everyone knows everyone. So they are into stuff like this. So they used to come, they would act that way to try to implement their village rules in a town, because you know, in the village everyone seems to be related, so it's easier. So this woman is the same thing. She come from Nigeria to the UK, where not everybody is hip to this type of culture that she is trying to practice. Now she's over there acting like the villager, like when villagers come, the way they act, you know, she's trying to do that to this young lady, but it's not working. This is toxic. You shouldn't be beating other people's kids. She went to jail, as she should. Imagine if this was little Pookie or little Ray Ray and they have a gun on them. What do you think would have happened? You do realize these kids, sometimes kids shoot up. You know, some of the shootings you hear is kids doing that. So you need to learn.
When you're being bullied by an adult in the name of correction, we lacked the courage to want to speak up. This girl spoke up. That's how I saw the video.
Let's still go back to this crowd calling. It's so freaking Nigerian. I'm sorry to use that language. You know, when something happens and both of you just want to have a conversation to solve it, come and see, see this child, come and see. And then everybody now starts gathering and the last stop, the bike man stops, the boss man stops, the other stops, and they're coming down, and everybody's like, come and see.
They use public shaming tactics on you. You guys hear it here. I'm telling, like, because, you know, Nigeria is populated. They have so many people. So it's easy to be able to gather people around you to shame you. And you know what? The auntie will always win, because the people that are coming, they believe in that same rule. She is older, so therefore she is right. So they have that attitude, thinking they are the ones that are right, because you are young and they are older. That means they are telling the truth. But it's a new day. You shouldn't do that to kids, especially kids you don't know. It's gonna go bad.
I'm thinking, what the heck?
It's a shaming
This
method.
happened. I'm just trying to have the conversation with you.
Yeah.
No, and I'm like, what the heck is wrong with you? So this is the same issue. So the child offended you, and you think by calling the crowd, by raising your voice, would attract sympathizers to the matter. And say, no. And unfortunately, this is not Nigeria. She called you a fool. Yeah, but it's wrong for a child to call you a fool. Absolutely. Why would you raise your hand on someone else's child?
It's a trigger. You cannot be a Nigerian parent, Nigerian adult.
Based on
a
her
small
age.
girl calls you an adult. It triggers. But in Nigeria, you can actually, in fact, in Nigeria, if a child calls you a fool, you can get the whole neighborhood to pounce on that child. So that
Miriam,
just walks away.
Imagine that. Just a kid, you're acting a fool and the kid calls you a fool. You gather the whole neighborhood to beat up on the kid. She just told you. So this lady in the UK, she truly, in her head, she thought that's what she was going to do. Imagine what type of, like lack of self-control one would have, where you're triggered by just a word. You cannot control yourself. You have to put your hands on a teenager or anyone for that matter. Look, I'll tell you right now, these aunties, if you're one of the aunties, please listen to what I'm about to tell you. If you live in America, the UK, or these places. People, you cannot just jump and put your hands on people. People have what they call freedom of speech. Okay? Freedom of speech. If you're acting a fool and someone calls you a fool, you put your hand on them, you're going to jail. It's not Nigeria, it's not Gambia, it's not these places where you'll be like, I cannot believe this young kid called me a fool. It is not a crime for them to call you a fool. It's just a word. That's it. They can even call you stupid. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. The moment you touch that kid, you are going to jail, and you're catching an assault record for that. Just FYI.
Focus on, do you have a right to raise your hand on someone else's child?
No, of course not.
I would say that I would have, my first line would say raise hands, because let's find a way to, if a child is going wayward, you better do everything you can to bring, and I want, if you see my child doing something wrong, you better shout. If my child comes to your house and the child is taking something,
yes, correct my child.
Correct the child.
Yeah, correct my child, but don't raise your hand. I'm telling you guys now, my children should visit you. If they do anything wrong, correct them, but do not raise your hands at my child. I will not take it. But you can correct with words. You can correct with action.
Here's the question. Do you need to know someone to respect the person?
No. Of course.
So, you know that she kept saying again, I don't know you, I don't need to respect you. You're not my mother, you're not my parent, I don't need to respect you. Even the white of white human beings, even the one that is blue eye, green eye, Onyibo, wouldn't talk like that. You know, and we need to raise our children to, you can speak up for yourself. They must learn the level of...
Again, Ryan, you see, the example is always they gotta take it from the white people. But white people are not... She's saying, oh, even a white person wouldn't talk like that. Ma'am, you haven't seen some white teenagers, right? I've seen several times white kid in the store just going off on their mama, calling her a liar and all that. I remember my son, he looks at me and said, Dad, I can't believe this kid is acting this way. And I said, you know what would happen even if I have a dream, in the dream you said this to me, it's not even real? Because you know, in African homes, I know people who get beat up because their mama had a dream that the guy was disrespecting them in her dream, not in real life. She just had a dream, and they call you in and beat you up just for simply having a dream about you doing something. That's their way of saying, don't ever think about it. But, you know, if I see some kid acting a certain way in public, I mean, that should tell you, man, what type of home they're coming from. You might want to stay away from that kid. But these people, I don't think they know, like, no, there is white kids. They wild out. They wild out. They call their parents all kinds of names. So, ma'am, you don't know. Trust me, you do not know.
Emotional intelligence to walk away from a place that is giving you crisis. Anything that is rubbing you wrong, walk away. That lady somebody is attacking you. You descend to their level the moment you attack the person back. What she did was, an older woman ignorantly was attacking you. You now decided to attack back. You become like that person. And her language was very, very bad.
Did you guys see how she flipped this around? Now she's trying to make it seem like the girl attacked this woman. The moment that woman left her McDonald's seat, you know, to go talk to that young lady, right then and there, okay, she's crossed the line. Look, if that were me and the kid, she's putting a defense, she's already being disrespectful to you, telling you, look, you're not my mom. I don't know you. Leave me alone. Just leave her alone, okay? Because she's not your kid. But an African auntie, her ego, her pride is not going to let her let that go. She would have to have the last word. She would have to win somehow. That's why that went down that way. It's not worth it. Seriously, it is not worth it. This is not Africa.
If we say the adult, if you find yourself in a relationship with, if you see a mad person and the mad person comes to you, do you now attack the mad person?
Wait. Like, this is a child and an adult.
Yes.
You're putting the onus on the child.
No, I'm saying if an adult is behaving like a mad person, you become mad when you fight the adult back.
Sense now. This is the age where you show those excesses. Is the maturity of the adult to be able to predict that
exactly.
I agree.
She was wrong.
Yes. So at the point when you're trying to correct a child, an adolescent particularly in secondary school, and the child is not accommodating your approach, you keep quiet and walk away. She should have walked away from that child if she could have. But don't put the onus of responsibility of example on the child.
Yes, I agree with you.
You guys heard it. So they want to justify it somehow. There is no justification in what that woman did. Maybe if he were in Nigeria, then sure, maybe that's people are privy to that. And in most of these African countries, I don't know, like in Gambia, how it's like now, but back when I was a kid, yeah, most definitely, if that altercation happened between the adult and the child, the adult definitely wins hands down. And it sounds like that's how it is in Nigeria. For sure, in the village. In the villages, yes, you're going to lose as the kid. But when you want to practice this in the Western world, it's not going to work. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to drop the link here. I'm going to have some of you call in, and let's have discussion about this. Tell me what you know, what you think. Oh, you can tell us about your African auntie experience. The link is in. Hit that link, come on through, and let's hear your side of the story here. I know some of the aunties, they're not gonna like this, but the truth is what's gonna set you free. This is here to help you, so you don't ever find yourself in these situations. Because, like I said, imagine if this was somewhere in the United States. Because here in the States, I see kids, they wild out all the time. You go to downtown area, and if you're an auntie, please, I want the aunties to call in first. Okay? You see, MC Cham said the aunties will never change. I'm guessing MC have had experience with the aunties. So, yes, St. James, you're right. I want to give chance to the aunties to call in first. If you are an African auntie, please call in. Let's have this discussion. Tell us why you believe that you have the right to quote unquote correct someone else's child, aka smack them down. Because you see, when there is something that is joyous for the kids, things that would benefit them, these aunties are nowhere to be found. But for some reason, they have this skill of taking your happiness away, embarrassing you, and then they call it our culture. And for some reason, they never ask you if this is your culture. They just say, hey, you're African, you're black like me, so therefore you have to be practicing this culture as well. And you see, they gave reference to saying even the white people. Okay, looks like we have one auntie that called in. I'm gonna let the auntie in. Mimi, welcome to the show.
So I'm the auntie.
Well,
I forgot it's not the floor. I'm
bye. Mimi,
Namanala.
Mimi, long time. What you been
I
up
know
to?
I've been working. I've been working lately,
Yeah,
getting some money. But
that's good.
I didn't watch the whole story.
Yeah,
And like I was going with Esty and he was asking me some question about it.
yeah,
If the auntie approached the kid, that's wrong. Why would you even approach somebody like in the streets like that? Because these new generation, they're different from us. I wouldn't do that. But even in Africa,
yeah.
if you're not my child, I mean, I don't have any right to yell on you.
Right.
Because if they do it to my kid, I won't like it. I'm just being honest. But I'm not gonna teach my kid to be disrespectful, acting crazy out there in the streets. No. But hey, who am I to tell somebody else that I don't even know that why would you act like that just because I'm African? So
Mimi,
that's where the problem is.
Mimi, did you see MC Cham? MC Cham wrote. He said she already sounds like my auntie.
That's what hey, I'm a typical Gambian. I was so stubborn.
You
And
know.
like you said, that text message thing like was killing me.
Okay.
Like,
You
you
know,
read the
Mimi.
text messages, like they will send you from houses to house in the hot sun, and they think you have to do it.
Yes. You know. So Mimi, exactly when I explain the uh the kids where they text message, you can relate to that, right?
Oh yeah, that's why I was laughing. We were actually the text messages. Like,
Yeah.
go to your auntie's house, go to your uncle's house in the hot sun, just because the sun is hot and they don't want to do it. What makes you think that the kids should do it? I mean, I don't know.
And you know, like for example, like Miss Game Slayer said here. She said she's a proud African auntie, but not still in the Stone Age. She put it perfectly because
Exactly.
many, like, you don't have to be that mean, obnoxious, narcissistic auntie. You don't have to
No.
be that.
I used to hate people like that. Like, I can't stand them. Just because I'm a kid, you think you should take advantage of me. And one thing that I'm going to say is like, most of the time, they don't even do that to their kids. That's why I'm like, you're not going to do me like that. Your kid is sitting right there. Go tell her to go do that. And they cannot stand my guts with that. Like, you always have something to say. I'm like, your kid is sitting right there. Why me?
You know, we have somebody that tried to call in. He said, "I am not Afridamus, but you know, if that's their username, but for some reason, my the device is not cannot connect. Maybe you might want to change your name. It looks like the system here filtered you out really
It's not
well.
accepted that.
It's not accepting those kind of
There's
you-
only one Afrodamus.
there's only one. So Mimi, do you think, from did you watch the discussion between the ladies there?
I was watching it, and I think most of the time I do agree with them with
Yeah.
most of the things that they say. Like, what makes you think that you can approach somebody kids and yell on them like that? No, especially like the kids that are born here, you're not gonna do that to them. Us, maybe we can take it in a way, but not even like I wouldn't even let anybody come to me and yell on me when I'm
No, I didn't
acting
even I
crazy.
didn't even put up with that when I lived in Africa.
No.
I didn't put up with that, and you
I
know,
mean, yeah, my aunties and my uncle will spank me. I mean, I take it because I expect that, but that was when I was young. But nobody don't do that to my child because
not complete
it's different.
strangers.
Yeah, not complete strangers, but my aunties. And if I do something wrong, they will come and tell my uncle, and my uncle is not gonna put up with that. So
Right.
they disciplined me, and I was like kind of scared with them, more scared for my because my dad spoiled me, but my uncle wouldn't put up with the nonsense.
That's how it always goes. We have you know, I am not Afridamus here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go.
Okay.
I'm out of here.
All right. Good. Thanks for coming.
All right.
All right. Go ahead. Are you there? Okay.
Here, can you hear me?
I can hear you. And where you calling from?
Okay, so this I'm calling from Mozambique, a country in Africa.
You're calling from Mozambique, and
Yeah.
now
So
you.
basically,
Where did
this
you
is it.
find your name? Go ahead. Go ahead.
What?
I said, nice name.
So what I was saying is this. Yeah, thank you. This issue stems from the fact that the African he seeks to he will always seek for somebody to be his subordinate. This is just the truth. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
The African will always seek for somebody for him to subjugate. So this is where all of it stems. I believe it's the so-called culture. A lot of people call it, but
Oh, that's a good point, Diego. So, Diego, tell me, in from watching the video, right? Do
yeah,
Is it the same way in Mozambique too? Do the aunties act this way?
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Huh. I thought this was mostly in West Africa.
Well, I, I, in my life, it
Oh, you're breaking. Oh, look at this. MC Cham said, my mom would send me to the shop just to top up her bus pass instead of her just going to the shop herself to top it up. Her bus pass, since the bus stop is literally next to the shop. I rest my case. People, I'm telling you, you see, if MC is confirming that exactly here. Some Something just because having a child, that child is their slave. The child have to, do exactly as they say. And that only creates resentment. Okay, Diego, you're back.
yeah. So
Can you hear
so
me?
basically, what I was saying is, uh, it. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm using a different device today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so what I was saying is, it never happened with me. With me, it never happened, but I've seen it happening with people,
Right.
because I was never very close to a lot of family members. So my family was always reserved, basically. So it never happened.
Same here.
But I've seen it happen. It happens where I'm from, but it never happened with me.
Yeah, I think like, do you think, okay, these people, they just like to create, these toxic, chaotic behaviors, like it's actually their attitude, and then they flip it to make it seem like everybody have to agree to it by calling it a culture.
Yeah.
Man, Diego, your Mozambique connection is delayed today. Are you there? It looks like the connection over there is not working straight. Um, he might want to hook up with the what is it called? The Kenyan connection over there. Like Bernard said over here. Let me see. Bernard, you made a good point. You know, I know people are laughing, but you made a great point here. You said, please warn the aunties not to mess with Black American teens. It might end up very bad. You know, if you notice, you don't hear these problems, the aunties going against even like the teenage boys in the West, suddenly not America, because they know better. I mean, these kids around here, they are not playing. Okay? They are not playing.
Yeah. So basically, like I was saying,
Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead, Diego. Well, please send these videos to any auntie that you know that behave this way. Do not try this in America. Don't try this in America. It might not end well for you. But I think we haven't seen videos yet of them acting like this in America. Okay? But ever, if you're ever thinking about it, leave American teenagers alone. You know, all that talking about we all Black is not going to work. You know, they would have smacked the wig off her head and start kicking her so hard. You know, the kids here, you know, sometimes I don't know, you know, what's wrong with some of these kids, but stay away from these kids. Leave them alone. Seriously. Because she's lucky, you know, somehow this is the UK. I don't know what the dynamics are. You know, the little girl just, you know, retaliated back. But I heard even in the UK, you know, they like to stab people, they like to knife people. So some of these teenagers, you know, she's lucky they didn't have knives on them. Let's see. MC said, they lied to you. You call them a liar, they get mad. Yes, you're right about that. They say you can't call me a liar. We don't do that in our culture. If that's their culture, that is toxic culture. I agree 100%. If someone lies, you should be able to call them a liar, and they have the right to ask you what did they lie about. But no, in Gambia or African countries, I advise you don't try that. Yeah, because they see it as being disrespectful. And for some reason, they cannot take disrespect. Diego, go ahead. Diego, are you there? Unmute yourself. Oh, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it would have been a good conversation. Diego always brings the fire, but let me read off some of these comments here. Yeah, MC, I agree with you. If someone lies, it doesn't matter if they're 100 years old. You know, you should be able to correct them and call it for what it is, but they are going to say you disrespected them. St. James said, I agree that as well. Stay away from American cultures. Worry about your own that you deem acceptable. St. James, you said it best. You said it best. And, you know, do not walk up to even other kids to, you know, you don't know, you're not related to. Just simply saying we all Black, you know. I don't know what's the obsession with this, but I hope she learned her lesson. Objective one said, don't try it among the lower classes. It's still similar in what we call the Black church. Right. Candy said, don't get respect by invoking fear. I totally agree. Candy said, don't get totally agree. Oh, Diego, turn off the YouTube part of it. Brito, turn off the YouTube part of it. Turn off. Because you're echoing. Click off the YouTube part. Let's see. Amilcar said, my father once told my oldest brother, there is nothing you ever can teach me because you came you came from my nuts. Amilcar, I use that same word, the other day, but I didn't say you can't teach me. Like that's the thing. It's like, some of these old people, they are set in their ways, and it's so hard to talk to them. It's so hard to talk to them because they put the fear in their own kids, and they call it respect, but that's not respecting. Because when you put fear in your child, you will how do you know they respect you? They will resent you. This is why, like, I talked to several Africans, especially from Gambia. Like, they're not gonna admit it, but from the things they say, the person doesn't have to tell you directly what they are thinking, but they have resentment towards their parents. Because most of these guys, even their parents don't live here, they are all the way over there. They still control their lives here. And they would say, oh, I brought you to this world. I told this to a guy before. I said, if they ever tell you they brought you in this world, tell them you didn't ask for it. You made the decision to bring someone in the world. But that guy, when I said it, it blew his mind. He's like, man, some of the things you say, man, these are pretty crazy. I said, but is it true? Because they've never heard this before. They're like, aren't you an African? So pretty much they're saying, if you're an African, you're not supposed to tell the truth. Do you guys see how crazy that is? Amelka said, Afridamus, this is the same man you didn't know who didn't know how to turn off the TV. Exactly. It's like, that's why when that auntie told me I gotta cut my hair, and I'm like, why would I take instructions from someone who can't even navigate their way around a city without somebody taking them around? This is who is going to tell me what I should do with my life. This is wild. MC said, Afridamus, funny story. My dad told me I sound like a European just because I said I couldn't see myself having children and sending them to my parents to raise them instead of me raising them. That's not being a European. That's just being sensible and responsible. Again, your dad was using shaming tactics. That's what they always do. And responsible. Okay. Unmute yourself, Ojini.
Yep.
Ojini, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. No, got a very nasally voice today, so you might have to bear with me. But no, it's look, just to answer your question, right? You asked Diogo a question at a point of your conversation, and I think he couldn't answer it just via bad connection and all. You asked, is it necessarily a cultural thing or it's a personal thing that people are making it cultural?
Right.
I believe it's cultural. Now I don't know where this stems from at all, but I think I might have a solution for it.
Go
I don't
for
know
it.
where it stems for at all, because it's practiced so vastly across the sub-Saharan part of the continent. Like even Diogo there just said it's practiced in East Africa as well, and I know Kenyans they act like that as well. And in West Africa, it's like it's damn near an epidemic in most countries, especially the Nigerians. And then
Well,
I'm Nigerian myself, so
I can
I know.
assure you, Ojin, it's not only Nigeria. I can assure you that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But the thing, I think in West Africa, right, we are taught. Let me say sub-Saharan Africa. Actually, we are taught that elders, parents, are meant to be somewhat of a religious provider to us, most
Right.
especially with the bad economies that we have. You have millennials that can't even provide for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So what you have is a society that have molded people to believe that there's an hierarchy of power, and that power is the only thing that can provide for you. So you have kids, people that believe that for some reason, a certain level of respect must be given to elders in order for them to provide. They feel like they know more than
The kid.
um the younger ones because are meant to be, once again, the religious provider. It's almost like God giving you life. No one else can give you life but God. So you have to treat them as a demigod on the face of the planet. That's why I said in the comment section that maybe you compare it to the West, right?
Right.
You see the level of freedom and economic freedom that even teenagers in the West can have. It makes their parents not able to control them in a certain manner.
But
Like
but
you
Brian,
can.
do you think the control, right?
Mm,
The stranglehold the parents tend, put on the child, try to control their mind from the time kids are young.
mm.
Do you think this is for, like, the kids are the future economic plans for them, so that when they grow up, they can be the one to take care of them? If you don't do it, they would say we're going to put a curse on you.
I think in some cases that might be the case, but in most cases it's just not. Like I'll give you an example, right? My elder sister growing up, because I grew up in a polygamous family, and it was
Hmm.
also a compound family. So it was one man, three wives, and cousins from from every corner of our villages that I grew up with. It was about a family of about 30 people, massive
Hmm.
house. So I would be about 12 years of age. I would have sisters that are about 30 odd years of age, right?
Hmm.
But I swear down, there was a time me and my sister was in the sitting room, right? Table was literally in front of her. There was a remote on the table. And I was in the balcony in the sitting room. She
Right.
called me. She's like, Hero, go give me the remote. Go give me like come get me the remote. I'm thinking to myself,
Wow.
like, Lord, that thing is in front of you, blood. But I couldn't say it because of just respect.
Yeah.
Because now that person there is not expecting me to come be there for her when she's older. It's just something that's eaten so deep into the culture. Like in some cases, if let's say for the 17-year-old, the average 17-year-old in the West, like when they finish high school and all, they can go get them a job and literally move out the house. Their
Right.
parents can't treat them like they're some mini slave to them. But on the continent, they can't because these people don't have any other option. That's why I say the more the economies get better, you see young people that can actually fend for themselves. That's going to reshape the mind of the people. I do believe that economy has everything to play with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. That's a good point that you're making there, because people that, even if they are young, right, younger, and you have more money than those adults, they seem not to practice those same things on you.
Yeah, and one thing again, I would say to your point, you said I think it was St. James or someone else who put it in MC Sham or so in the comment section. They say, "Don't try this with American
Right.
younger kids." Now
Hmm.
that's a social dynamic there that you must understand why they do that in the UK as they practice it on the continent of Africa is because they understand that most of those black kids are like first generation immigrants. Isn't that what they call them? Like kids
Right.
that were born there. So they see those kids in them, so they see those kids like, oh, you can actually be my daughter, you're my
Right.
daughter's age. You probably have two other Nigerian parents. I can be your mother as well. They will never try that with Americans because they don't understand that they're not the same people. You know
Right.
what I mean? But that's the what do you call it, dynamic that I think plays there, like the cultural dynamic. So they think those kids will be more ingrained into an African culture where they have to like respect their parents as if they were on the continent. But it's just something different. It's something different. And you never know. The kid could actually be of Jamaican descent and they have a much longer lineage in the
In the
country, in the
UK.
UK. than you
Right.
as an African. So the kid might not even understand what you that social dynamic that you're trying to impose into or interact with that child with. You know what I mean?
Well, I just want the aunties to know, please don't practice this. You know, like you heard, I talked about when I was a kid, right? Back then, they didn't have cell phones. Literally, the kids, we were the text messages.
Yeah.
We were
Bro.
the text messages. Okay, like somebody would be sending kids in this hot burning sun, you know, back to back, non-stop.
Yeah,
You know,
non-stop. Like you go on one, you come back the same day again. You go on one, you
Mhm.
come back the same day again.
Yeah,
And it's like I told Amika X in the comment section, like, bro, you're triggering my PTSD with these examples that you're giving because it's
yeah,
literally getting to me.
right. We have two Niger in the house. Two Niger, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I just thought I should drop in. I've not seen you in a while, so I
Yeah,
guess I've been roaming around the YouTube wild areas.
well, thanks for coming back to the friendliest YouTube on in this
Yeah,
sector.
right. So yeah, this topic is it about the culture that is a bit toxic on the African side? Is that what you're trying to
Right.
imply?
You know, like if you missed it, there was a this woman in the
Mm-hmm.
UK who,
Yeah.
this Nigerian woman, she
Mm,
walked up to some teenager. They're like it looks like a McDonald's.
yeah.
She didn't like the young woman's behavior, but they got into it, and it turned into a physical altercation. The woman put her hands on this child.
Mm,
So I'm explaining that because yes, the woman is from Nigeria, but this is a common thing across, most, especially West African countries, where people believe they are your auntie, and
mm,
they would just try to say, I'm disciplining this child because they are behaving a certain way, or to say, am I not your elder? I'm older than
mm,
you. So that's what we're talking about.
mm. I think what she did, by hitting the girl, even by African standards, sometimes you might have a situation whereby the parents will, they will not find
Step
it
in.
funny. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
the parents won't like any third party disciplining their child. It doesn't mean that the parents themselves don't do it. I think this stuff we are talking about. I think is a kind of something that is informed by your environment, and also part of it, because the culture is part of the environment. Most people just assume that people just draw their culture up. If you have a culture of dancing outside naked, go and try that in the north during the winter, and you find out that culture will change fast. And so this is the point. Culture is shaped by environment, and sometimes by economics. Most of the countries that you see in the West that are prosperous right now, the reason why they have the luxury of talking about all this stuff and looking at those people the way they are right now, because they are prosperous. When they were growing, that's not how they were. They were sending children up chimneys, selling their wives in marketplaces, and doing all kinds of crazy stuff too. So what you see in Africa when they talk about respecting your elders is one of the most efficient way of having an hierarchical system. This is
Yeah.
inbuilt into nature itself.
Yeah. I think so. Because we're talking about these toxic aunties that in the West, right? The same thing you're practicing in Africa, smacking someone's kid, trying to shame them, all that stuff. Fine, you can do that over there in Africa and get away with it, but you can't do that in the Western context. Because I gave examples, even me, when I was little in Africa, like people were asking me, did someone ever smack you? I said no. I never believed in, the family I come from. I was allowed to express myself freely. um if I'm not related to you, I don't consider you my auntie or anything. I respect you as an older person because that's what the culture is, right? So I never, we didn't practice that where somebody just can come up and say, oh, I'm your auntie, put your hands on me. Because back then, if somebody did that, I would have knifed them. That's for sure. Because I remember this grown up that beat up one of my younger brothers. I was young, and I went to go confront him, with a knife, of course, and because I was outraged by it, because in our home we didn't practice that, and I know my mom would not talk to someone scared, so it's like vice versa. But I have seen other people do this, with my own eyes.
But it does sound a little bit is of a big step change for somebody that hasn't experienced any form of physical punishment before to
No,
suddenly shift to
of course, my
carrying.
parents have punished me before, of course.
Okay.
Like it's not like I'm saying like outsiders, like
Oh yeah.
even,
Oh no no yeah.
yeah, outsiders. No, of course, trust me too, Niger. Don't you think I would have break some rules back then? Even
Definitely.
why do you sound so sure? And even when I was a kid back then, teachers can discipline you. I don't know what it's like now, but back
Yeah.
when I was, the teachers can discipline you.
Yeah,
Okay,
they used to do that in the 50s here. It's more recently that they stopped doing that.
I wasn't born back then.
Yeah, I think what is going on is that whenever other parts of the world try to catch on with the West, they change the goalposts and say we are now better than you again with this one. If you notice, it was let's accept gays in societies first, then let's accept gay marriage, and when the other parts of the world start catching up, let's accept gay marriage. Oh, now it's transgender. They just keep moving the goalposts so that they will claim social superiority over other groups.
Right.
Point is, they too were like Africans once, and if they return
No,
back
but
to our condition,
Tunaja,
they will be like that.
Tunaja, this is not the Western people saying this.
Mm,
We all like, this is me saying this and other people, because we're watching the videos.
mm.
We see the video. Have you seen the video?
Yeah, I've seen that video. I think that was
Okay.
about 2 weeks ago or so.
Yeah. So this is not a white person or Western people saying this is bad, because white people stay out of African issues, to be quite frank. They stay out of it. But
The call police for
African,
her. The call police for her.
well, yeah, well, she broke the law. She broke the law.
And then it's
But
white people saying that what she's doing is bad.
no, that's what I'm saying. In the white man's country, assaulting somebody is a crime.
Yeah.
So she assaulted, because that's not, even if that was her child, assaulting her like that, that's wrong, because she walked up to her, tried to embarrass her and put her hands on her. Like tonight, if that was my kid, she did that. Oh, I would want her to be arrested as well. That's just common sense. Because I gave you even example in Africa, like if a stranger like her, right? I was a kid, put her hands on me. Do you think my parents would go for that? They will
Yeah.
not go for it. I know that for a fact.
I think the woman must have felt that the girl's mom would have gone for it. So that's
But she doesn't know. She doesn't know this. She doesn't know the girl or her mom. That's what I'm saying. That's because the assumption, because she tried to say that, she's black or whatever. Like, that's why I'm giving warning to the aunties. Do not try this in America. Okay? Do not try this in America.
I watched a Nigerian program talking about that, and most of the women were feeling like that is because she is over there. That's why this is happening. But if it was on the continent, clearly that would maybe she might have an argument with the girl's mom about why she did that. But by and large, it will be accepted.
Yeah, that's what this topic is about today, to say. Because if you look at it, a lot of things people say African culture, like they would say, oh, this is our culture. It is toxic and it's criminal at best.
How is it
Because
criminal? Because the Europeans said it.
no, because if you walk up, okay, for instance, right? Okay, like my son, he's a teenager, right?
Mm.
And I train him. He knows how to shoot whatsoever. And somebody walks up to her to say, because I'm your elder, smacking him, don't you think he has the right to defend himself?
On the African continent, it
No,
is
no,
seen
no.
differently. So you have to
But
be
we don't.
careful
But
when you
we
say
don't
the
live in
standard of the
Africa.
West against Africa. It's not the same
I
thing.
mean, talking
No,
about the
we,
continent though.
we, we're talking. We're talking about, okay. You, for instance, right? You come up, I'm sure in some African countries, even in some African countries, if she had done this, she would be arrested as well, smacking someone's kid.
Mm, I
I'm,
don't know
I'm,
how
I'm,
many.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm no,
If
but
the policing is effective there,
yeah,
you
yeah, they
definitely
would.
get arrested. You can't fight. You just can't fight into the streets of anywhere. Like,
Yeah, you
but
can't
that
just
is.
do that.
But what I'll
Which
say
African
about
country are
this,
you
like,
talking
when we
about?
talk about on the continent, like, it's just. I think it's you have to. In order for that to happen, it definitely doesn't happen everywhere on the continent, but it happens in most places. Even within a country like Nigeria itself, because must remember that that's a massive country, and people are from this different parts
Different
of the
regions,
nations
right?
and all. It takes a little bit of docility for you to be able to do that and get away with that. Now,
Yeah.
it's funny enough that you see the part of the entitlements from the older people. It's prominent where I'm from as well. It's prevalent where I'm from. But however, going forward, in the case of you putting your hands on someone else's child, it's actually a very dangerous thing where I'm from. But like you said, like the American kids wouldn't take it because of the culture that they've been raised on. There's I don't mean to take shots at anyone now here, but there's like a violent culture
No,
over there.
not
And there's a
really,
free culture,
because
so there's culture of freedom. They are
no,
protected by law
what
and stuff.
what that woman expressed, that would be what is considered a violent, toxic culture. Because in America, if you look at it, people are not gonna walk up to someone's kid and put their hands on them. Like,
Yeah,
that's
but
not
what
it.
I'm saying is
That's
that the kid
But
in
if a
America,
person, right?
An average American kid might reply with violence. Like that girl didn't reply with violence.
No,
She just called the police.
no. What I'm saying is, again, the woman is the violent one. She's coming from a culture that
Yeah.
practices violence, because
Yeah, at least she
she
initiated the violence.
she initiated the violence. So we have to call it for what it
Yeah.
truly is. Okay,
Yeah, but okay.
I gave you an example, right? In
Mm.
America, for instance, okay, if she had walked up to a kid, oh, let's say 17-year-old, oh, 18-year-olds who look smaller, but they're able to carry a pistol whatsoever. You do that to them, they are justified to shoot you down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the culture that's being developed there.
But
Like where
yeah,
I'm from.
because you're coming, because just because there is no deterrent for people doing that in Africa doesn't mean that's a violent culture. It is a violent culture to do that to somebody. You're putting your hands on them. You see, I told you the example.
Yeah, either way.
I went to confront an adult when I lived there, and I was a kid back then. you know why did I go there and prepared with a knife? Why? Because that adult, do you think I cared to say that's culture? If that's your culture, it's not mine. I saw that adult to be violent.
Yeah. But
That's
you see the
violence.
reason why in most African countries it won't be accepted is because you replying that way to an elder slapping you is deemed quite socially abnormal. That's why that's why most people get away with it. Like where I'm from in
Right.
Nigeria, right? You can't you can't necessarily do that. Now, two Nigeria might be familiar with this, but he's been away from the country for at least 20 years now, so it probably isn't. In the recent years, there've been like wars that have been fought, like inter-ethnic wars and stuff within the people. That kind of like it's almost like it's bred a kind of violent response to everything.
Yeah,
People are
but
quick to
what
resort
I'm
to
saying,
fight.
right? What
So
I'm
where
saying.
I'm from, people are more careful. But the reason she can do that, she can be that careless over there, is because the young females in the UK are not like that. They won't reply with
Well,
violence. Now she
maybe.
can't. You said something about knifing. chefing and knife crimes in the UK, but that's prevalent within young males, like young males, not necessarily the females. So she
Yeah,
can get
but
away with. She wouldn't try that with a young male.
well, that's what I'm saying is right. Okay, because Tunaja was trying to make it seem like it was white people that said that, or comparing it, but violence is violence because violence comes in different forms. There's verbal, you can, I mean, I'll call it abuse, verbal abuse. Like I have seen with my own eyes, I've seen behaviors like even like in Africa, which have no connection to white people. Some of these adults, the way they behave with children, it is a complete. It calls for violence, and these people are violent people. Putting them down, trying to publicly shame them. That's verbal abuse. That's verbal abuse. You don't need someone outsider to tell you that, because if you're going out of your way, like yelling at a kid saying, "You're looking at me in the eye," or yelling at a kid saying they didn't greet you, like, who the hell are you? Like, it doesn't matter. You see, like, the person should be willing to do it, not just from fear. See, the moment you putting fear in people, talking about is respect. That's not respect. You're disrespecting them. And everybody, like, it doesn't matter what your age is, you have to give respect to get respect. It's a two-way street. No one deserves to say, "Oh, I'm entitled to the respect,"
I
but
think the way you are sounding, you are sounding from the point of view of the West, which is fine because in the end, it's
so
about demarcation.
you're
You have to
saying
understand the
wait,
demarcation.
are you saying the West is more respectful and more humane than Africa? Do
Not
you
at all.
Okay,
Not
are
at
you
all.
saying, wait, are you saying if it so if it wasn't for the Western world, I will not know that somebody putting their hands on me, somebody, verbally abusing me, I wouldn't know what that is?
It is the context. I think it's the context. This is what you have to understand. If let's say you went and paid for some kinky treatment, you can see that the context will be different
No, no,
of the
no,
same
no.
kind
What
of
I'm
thing.
saying,
So I know
Tunaja.
you are interested in such things. So I'm just trying to give you an idea from the
Yeah,
world you
but
come from.
but but what
So
I'm saying is,
let
what
me
I'm
finish my
saying,
point.
Tunaja,
Yeah.
the mistake, because you probably missed that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That woman made, and like maybe you're making, right? Is people behave certain ways, and then they say, "This is our culture, African culture," or maybe that's just the norm where you come from or how you were raised. And then you try to translate that to think just because that other person is African, or it has to be. There are Africans, I know plenty, who do not condone this. They do not operate this way. They don't, because who wants to be treated with disrespect?
So what I'm gonna say, I'm
This
gonna
is
leave
not
you with
this
this,
is
right?
not a
So that's
Western. This is
You're not
not.
letting me
So
finish
I'm gonna
my.
say,
This
I'm
is
gonna
You're not
leave you
letting
with
me
this.
finish
In
the
order
thought.
for
what I'm
It's not
saying.
proper.
This is
So
not
because
a
let me finish the
Western
thought. Let me
Western
finish the
point of
thought.
view. Okay, go for it.
Let me
the
finish the
truth,
thought.
what I'm,
Sorry, I missed your this. Let me just finish the thought. You will get your chance to reply. What I'm basically saying is that yes, the West they have their own culture, and that woman is like a goldfish out of a bowl, and she came somewhere else and did something that she wasn't supposed to do, and she got into trouble right here for it, because you're supposed to know where you are. You're not supposed to behave like that here. It's that simple. You can't go to another man's house and let's say they say you should take your shoes off. You'll be like, no, I'm not going to take my shoes off because this is my way. That is not how it works. When you're in some other person's domain, they say, when in Rome, you behave like Romans or something like that. So I get that. I think you see what I mean. But this topic is trying to say, it's trying to define it as toxic, even on the continent. And
But it
that's what I'm
is
saying.
toxic.
See, but this is what you don't understand. Because even in the West, okay, if you say the West, they value life so much, they are the first to abort children at an
Well,
alarming rate. Let me
again,
finish. You see,
wait a minute. To Niger again. You're missing the point.
what point am I missing?
Because you're making this about the West and Africa. It is not the West that's telling me or somebody, because I understand when you disagree with somebody, right? When you disagree, you like to say, oh, they're thinking from a Western point of view. So again, that's why I laid it out to you saying, because when you say that, that means, hey, oh, who's that?
It's him. It's him, not me.
Who's that?
Go ahead. It was you.
So when you say that, that means you're conceding, saying, okay, Afridamus, you as an African, you cannot think this straight unless it was a white person who is telling you this is not good. So you're saying an African cannot recognize, violence, abuse, and what is humane unless white people say it, and that is not the case. What I'm trying to tell you, no, you don't have to say it that way, but when you say you're using Western point of view, so you're pretty much saying, hey, if you oppose strangers putting their hands on someone's kid, which is what this topic is about, that's a toxic thing. And you talked about Western violence.
No, you talked about violence, not only.
But
you didn't put it only down to a stranger.
Okay.
You know what? Let me just
but this is a
leave you with this,
stranger
right? So I
here.
have to run off in 2 minutes now.
Give me a
Let me
second.
just leave you with
We're
this.
talking about you see, you missed out, the beginning of the show, right? You missed out. So you're bringing a completely different argument here, and you're still wrong in your argument. Let's give Ojini a quick one here.
What I'm gonna say is this, right? What we're trying to say here is this is not necessarily a reply to Tunaija, by the way, but just to acknowledge Miss James Slay's comment there. Say Tunaija here to defend his baby mama, all his baby mothers across the UK. But anyway, what I'm saying is this, right? We have to promote the culture of critical thinking in our societies in order for that continent to move forward, by the way. In so much cases, like you see these sort of dynamics across many aspects of our society, more especially in politics, where there's such a hierarchy to power that even people can't protest anymore without their lives being at a pretty much
Life
unfair
being in
subject.
danger, people getting killed, and
Exactly.
my
It's
thing
almost
is,
like the power hierarchy feel like they shouldn't be questioned. It's
yeah,
the same
and
thing
the
in
thing is,
politics.
this starts from home.
Even in local governments, like you see, there's such a point. There's like a chairman, and that chairman's word is all for it. There's such a status quo culture that we have, and if we don't eliminate that culture, like politically, we're not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to understand that respect is
Two-way
earned,
street.
and you're not entitled to it. The truth of the matter is that every Western country and every first world country don't have those sorts of cultural dynamics or social norms amongst them. And we just have to acknowledge that that's just the fact of the matter. There's more critical thinking, there's more accountability. People here, they earn their respect. The governments earn their respect. And society, everything in society is quite simulative. What goes on in the household is what goes on in the community, it's what goes on in the state, it's what goes on in the nation as a whole. And once again, that's the main point here. That there's this sort of culture that we're bringing kids up and up. It kills critical thinking up to the point where governments are not even being held to any accountability because their parents growing up in the household, parents are not held. In the schools, teachers are not held. In the churches, pastors are not held. So therefore, in the rest of society, no one else that's meant to actually be nurturing the people, overlooking the people, it's actually held to accountability. That's pretty much the moral of the blah blah blah. And
Thank you.
we'll leave it
Culture
there.
of violence, for sure.
I think what he's saying, what he's saying about, I need to address that, please. I think what he's saying about hierarchy in Africa, I think that people miss the point about Africa when they talk about hierarchy. The way Nigeria, Africa works is that when you're an elder, they take it that to survive a given period of time is an achievement, and they respect you for that, and they defer to you for that reason, because it creates a natural hierarchy that doesn't have, it's easy to implement and monitor. So that said,
what's the benefit of that hierarchy you're talking
the
about?
benefit of the hierarchy is that generally the older people know better than the younger people.
What
Hence,
have
it's inherent wisdom.
okay, fine. Okay, so if these older people know better,
You've not let me
well,
finish my
if they know
point.
better, why is Africa in shambles? And
Okay,
it's the people of today who are even improving.
I
You know,
wanted to
more.
address his point. Let me address his point. He said that, like in politics, and there's always this hierarchy thing. What he forgets is that Nigeria created one of the youngest presidents in West Africa.
Okay,
And
Tunaja, give me 1 second.
so
You're sending us in a tailspin here. You
it's not
know,
a tailspin.
you
You have to know
what
that
I'm saying.
these things are happening on the same environment that you say is also hierarchical.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'll let you drop it. I'll let you hit it. But let's hear what Reyes got to say too. Because Reyes was watching from the get go. Maybe that would help. For you to understand what we're exactly talking about. Reyes, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. This is a very interesting topic. I'm Black American, as you know, half
Right.
Black American. And what you guys sometimes when African immigrants or immigrants, period, say Black Americans are rude, that's the stage in our development many times. You guys are just going through the motions that we went through already. Because I was raised to have manners like you're denouncing right now. But then as I got older or during my era, there was something called the crack epidemic, right?
Right.
And sometimes you wanted to act that way with your elders, but these elders aren't worthy of your respect at this point.
Right.
So what you guys see in our misbe or quote unquote misbehavior is a reflex of that era. Because before then, all my older cousins are super like mannerable. I am too, but I have a cutoff point. Like when that lady put her hands on the child, that's a cutoff point. Like I had a relative who wanted me to discipline a younger relative, a distant relative, not even really my relative. It's my sister's niece's son who's not even related to me. But I don't believe in going around beating on kids because of that era. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because you had adults who were misappropriating their power. So I get both angles. You're right to Aphrodamus, and you're right to Niger, right?
Yeah,
I
but
believe that's your name. But
That
yeah.
would
Reyes,
blow
let me
Aphrodemus'
hold
head.
on.
Two people can't be
Reyes,
right at the same time. He doesn't understand
Reyes.
that concept.
Okay, Reyes, you saw the video, right?
Yeah, I saw it. The
Okay,
lady was
so
wrong. The older, I mean, from what I saw. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
so Reyes, think about it. Like, people you just at McDonald's, kids, filming
Yeah,
them, and sometimes these teenagers, like
they're
they
mindless.
they're
Yeah, yeah,
mindless. They act a certain
yeah,
way. For instance,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So the woman, fine, she wants to tell her not to behave that way, and the moment the kids start bucking up on her and saying, "Hey, I don't know you, leave me alone," don't you
hmm
think that should have been clue for her to stop right there? Because I know
yeah.
here
So
in America, you would have be like, "All right, this kid, bugging right
yeah,
now. You just leave the kid alone, right?"
yeah. That's why I say I agree with you. In
Yeah.
that instance, especially in a McDonald's, like a public facility where everyone attends, it's not like she was entering a banquet hall where it's a cultural event. No, it's a
Right.
McDonald's. You know, so I don't know the context before the video, but what I saw, she's wrong. And then when I was growing up, those type of elders, we would check them eventually because you can't randomly go around physically disciplining people because, like when you were saying earlier how it suppresses free thought, right?
Right.
And that free thought builds civilizations. You have to raise your children to respect you, but you also give them the leeway to express themselves. And and sometimes, if like what you said earlier, like what's going on with Africa, why isn't developing, that could be a key part. You're stymieing or you're suppressing free thought among the young, and their minds work so fast. Their brain synapses grow every day. We're old. Our brains don't regenerate cells as quickly as kids. So if you're suppressing that from the time they're young, you're not giving them the runway space to take off. And that's what happened. Go ahead, sorry.
Look, you would see a grown-up African, right?
Yeah.
They would say, "Hey, you can't teach me anything. Oh, I know better because I'm older.
Yeah.
I'm older than you. You're supposed to respect me." Like it's like the things that they hang on to is so petty. Like, you didn't greet me, or you looked me in the eye. These are silly things,
Yeah.
And we all have to also agree that if you believe that you can just put your hands on other people's kids, that's a cultural thought of violence, because you cannot say the person returning the favor, you can't call that person violence, saying that person is violent when you're the one that smacked the person.
I think there's a context to this. There's a context to this. I think the bigger context is, when people say it takes a village to raise a child, that is the context this is happening. Because obviously it's not good for anybody to put hands on anybody's child. But when a parent can do that in the context that they come from, they feel like, oh, they too should be allowed to do the same thing. And I can tell you that it's 50-50, even on the continent. You can't just go and start knocking some other person's child and you expect that the family to be okay with it. They are not going. It could really lead to a family fight, actually.
Well,
and it
I
has.
just gave the example when back then when someone put their hand on my little brother, like
Exactly.
I showed up, and like I didn't put up with that. I showed up with a knife, So
and you were well within your right, because
Yeah.
I could assume this is like a real elder. This is not like an older teenager.
No,
This is like
no,
someone
this
in
is a
their
full
30s.
grown up. Yeah, full on
If
elder.
the person was being rude to your family, or like let's say one of your brother was being rude to one of your uncles or something, and this person was around the uncle and say, "Stop talking to your uncle like that." You see what I mean? There's a different context to it. Maybe this person.
If the uncle is present, why do you need a stranger?
Why do you need a
Because if the
stranger?
uncle is not okay, let's say it's an old uncle, frail uncle, 50-something years, and there's a young man talking to the uncle very rudely. 50-something years old man, uncle.
No,
that
You've
old.
seen that.
Tunaja. I get what you're saying, but again, I have seen this type of situations where, again, because people have this form of thought, this is violent. Because, like for me, if somebody is talking to their own uncle like that, guess what? I'm not gonna step in. It's none of my goddamn business.
But an African would. Most Africans.
I'm an African.
Stop talking.
I'm an African.
You're an African that is living in the US.
Don't bring up the U.S. and try to blame his perspective on the U.S. He's just at his stage. Hold on. Let me
this
say
is a guy that rejected this African heritage at one time.
Okay, sure.
I didn't hear you, but yeah, this guy Afrodamus is just at that stage in his development, his understanding. You're not there yet. Like the guy that beat up his brother. For all we know, he could be a drunkard. He could be a wino. Do I want some wino beating on my brother? Because that's why I bring up the crack epidemic.
Exactly. I get what you mean.
I'm not trying to like talk bad about my people, but it's history. Okay. And after some time, these adults would carry out certain acts that were too extreme because they're high on crap. You get it? So that's where Afrodamus is at his development, and it's the right place to be, because every elder is not your elder. Oh no, every old person is not
your elder. That's right.
Some people don't deserve your respect at a certain point. I'm okay with saying hello, hi, good evening, but some people, if they've been wayward for way too long, they've forfeited that elder title to a degree until they re-earn it or redeem themselves. Because there's a thing in our community too that's very Christian like, where we believe in redemption. Okay, but if you're too far gone and you're like a derelict, I don't believe that elder title should be affixed
Well,
to you.
also Reyes, right? They like to say,
Hold on.
wait,
I think this two sides cannot be on the
wait,
same side. Let me finish
wait,
my point here. I have to
wait.
defend the point
No,
I'm making because two of you are
Tunaja,
basically on the same side.
Tunaja. This is for you. In fact, this is for you. You will defend it. This is for you. Okay. How come they always, when they say, oh, we all gotta raise the kid, whatever, they want to play auntie or uncle, but the only time they are playing it is in these instances to emit violence or to yell at the kid, but it's never to try to help them. Like if there's financial need there, now they are not your elder, they are not your uncle. It's always when they are trying to hurt you or do stuff to you. Go
You know
ahead,
what,
Tunaja.
I
Afrodamus,
guess what
can I,
you're saying. Let me just make this point. I get what you're saying, but you have to understand, even in Western societies, it's like a doctor
Leave
now.
leave the leave the
Can
so
I can
leave
I
the
make
West
my own?
out.
Can I
No,
finish the
Tunaja.
statement without you interrupting me?
Leave the West out of this. This has
yeah.
you keep trying to
I'm
make
trying
it.
to give you an example so you understand what you are talking
No,
about because you don't seem to know
Tunaja,
what. See,
Tunaja, I am an
you
African.
can't restrict my speech anymore. Come on,
Oh, but
you
you're
need to let me
supporting
talk.
Africans. You're supporting African
Can you
elders to do this
stop?
to
Can
kids.
you let me talk? I'm not supporting anything. You are not
Okay,
listening to me.
go ahead.
What I'm saying is that if you have a doctor, there are doctors and there are doctors. There are doctors that came first in the class, and there are some that almost failed. And yet they all called doctors. And when they go into the hospital, you still have to respect all of them. That's what I mean by if you respect. The point is that elders are generally better informed than younger people. It's not
Can I
always
respond
the
to your
case.
analogy?
You see, it's not always the case, but they are better informed than adults. You know, one saying that they say in Africa, what an elder can see sitting down, and a younger person can be standing on the mountain and they won't see it.
Yeah, we've seen.
So,
We'll see
so
how far. We've seen how
this
far
is
that's taken
why.
Africa.
Yeah,
We're
can
seeing
I
how
use
far.
your can I use your analogy? You said you should respect all doctors, but what if this doctor just prescribes opioids? He's not very well skilled. He's not doing a differential diagnosis. He just goes, "Oh, this is pain. Take some opioids." Should I respect this doctor?
No,
He
no.
has to
See,
take my
okay,
test.
you
He
have
has to
missed
take
my
my
point
blood
again. You have
pressure.
missed. See,
Look,
you have missed my point. I'm
Tunaja,
saying you should defer to them. Nobody says, okay, like now, if you see an elder and you show difference, they have not done anything to you. They've not prescribed an opioid in the analogy you are given. They are just existing in their title as elders. Don't you think maybe you should greet them when you are walking past them,
well,
acknowledge that they are elders?
Nah,
So because you
you
talked
don't.
about even greeting them is an issue.
No,
That
no,
is
no.
Tunaja,
wrong.
I'm
We're talking
saying they
about a
don't. You don't
public
have to
place.
if you don't want to. It
Yeah, you
shouldn't be
don't.
a crime. You don't
Yeah.
have to if you don't want to.
See, because you too, when here in the UK they have cases where elders are so lonely that nobody acknowledges them. It's like they become invisible people. The same thing is happening in Japan right now, where they have so many elderly.
Tunaja, again, you like to point at the West and other places.
Because
Let's
you
let's
are using the
focus.
Western standard right
No,
here
no,
to
I'm
judge
not.
a continent that is in a
No,
different stage.
no. I'm not.
Stop
I'm
pretending as if you are not. You
Tunaya.
are.
Tunaya. You're speaking to me as if I'm not an
Stop
African. I
hiding.
am an African, okay?
Stop
I've lived there.
hiding. You are in the US with a big
Hold on.
mic.
Hold on. Let's let
But
Brito.
I'm out, fellas,
All
man.
right,
This is
Reyes.
just
Thanks
take
for
it
coming.
easy.
All right, Brito. Welcome to the show.
Hello, good evening, Afidamus.
Good evening. How you doing?
I am all right, thanks.
Where you calling from?
I'm calling from the UK.
Oh, welcome in the house. Have you seen the video?
Yes, I have.
Well, what do you think about the discussion we're having here?
Well, that woman should be in jail. She should be in jail.
I agree.
That was so wrong. She should not even lay her hands on her own kid, much more on someone else's kid.
Okay, I'm glad you said this. Okay, if somebody who believes in this, right, and they
Yes,
said this is culture, wouldn't you consider that, if that's what they're saying, if wouldn't you consider that cultural practice to be toxic and violent?
it is a very bad culture.
Okay.
It is toxic.
Can I ask you a question then?
Yeah.
Should somebody that had an abortion be thrown in jail?
Can you say that again?
Could somebody that had an abortion, should they be thrown in jail?
Is that a law in the UK?
Aha. A moment ago, you are using it as a kind of a moral argument. Now you're talking about law.
Yeah,
You
but
either stand on your law or you stand on moral
but
argument.
It's a
You can't
law.
just stand on
you live here in the UK.
Yes.
And I live here in the UK. We know this country is governed by the laws.
Yeah.
We go by the laws.
Yeah,
we can't
not
just bring
culture.
our African cultures here.
Yeah.
Even in Africa, things are changing there.
But you are saying
understand?
should, because
In
you are saying
Africa,
the law should be like that.
there are some parts. Can you listen to me a minute? In some parts of Africa, if you beat someone else's child, they will come out for you. The whole family will come out for you.
I get that.
Why would you lay your hand on someone else's kid? Why embarrass somebody else's kid in public? That was an embarrassment.
All I'm trying to call out is hypocrisy in society.
But what's the hypocrisy here?
The hypocrisy
There's no hypocrisy in that.
Because the lines are arbitrary.
You are living in someone else's country.
Yeah.
Follow their laws and their rules.
I said
Why
that
can't you follow their laws?
I agree with that.
Why bring your own village laws into someone else's country?
Let me ask Tunaija. Let me ask Tunaija.
I agree with that.
Tunaija. Are you trying to say, people don't perform abortion in Nigeria?
I am saying that this conversation is spilling from...
No. Answer the question, because you want to...
I'm not going to answer the question exactly the way you want me
Tunaija,
to answer it. So,
Tunaija. No, because I know the answer. Are you saying now that you want to... No, I never ask a question that I don't know the answer to. Okay?
You're not sure about that.
No, I before I ask you, I already know the answer. That's why I'm the host. Okay, Tunaija, do they? Since you were hanging on, about this abortion thing, do they perform abortions in Nigeria or not?
You perform abortions in Nigeria.
Then why is that a fitting example here? You live in a country.
But they perform it less.
That's not true.
And it's also frowned upon. More frowned upon in Nigeria than here.
That's not true. In America, the United States, okay, even though they're saying it's a law, it is frowned upon. You think people are doing abortion going around, woo, I performed an abortion? It is frowned upon. Same thing. But I'm just trying to, you are trying to make it seem like, these countries, are governed by, your quote unquote culture. That woman, if that's the culture, that's toxic and violent. If you going around, you smacking other people's kid, you are a violent person and you belong in jail or get shut down, because that's what's going to happen. If you make that a habit in the United States, I can assure you, somebody would shoot her. Messing with this.
See, to be fair to you, I agree that behavior is unacceptable. I agree with that behavior, but I feel like the conversation is spilling over to say African culture is toxic, and that is wrong.
But
most of all this is
some African cultures.
Some are toxic. That's what we're saying.
Of course, some things are toxic. It's a given.
So you're being dishonest.
Are you saying that Western culture is better than African
but
culture?
this is not
Let me
about
ask you now.
What?
Do you think Western culture is better than African culture?
What aspect of the Western culture? Because this is not the entire African culture. What do you mean overall? You gotta give me examples. Just like
overall is overall, the whole.
As in what?
Like for like.
As in what?
When you take everything on balance, which one is?
Tunaija. In the Western culture, do their culture provide results for them?
The results they think they want, yes.
No, not think. Obviously, the results are good enough for you to live the best culture in Nigeria to move into the Western culture. So let's not play these games.
No, but you
Obviously,
didn't
their
answer the
culture.
question. You see, that's why
Obviously,
you're running from the question.
no.
Because what you have
First
to
of all,
understand, I told you the first time I came here,
Tunaya, I'm
these
not
things are
running.
based on
Wait,
the stages you are in.
Tunaya. That still doesn't negate seeing something violent and calling it for what it is. It doesn't negate it. It's not an excuse.
Are you
It
talking
is
about the
not.
culture that killed 28 million in one country in the world war? What are you talking? Do you even know the
Wait,
culture? This is
wait.
this is the most violent
So,
culture in the
wait a
world.
minute.
They've
So,
decimated continents. They've
Tunaya,
used only the nuclear technology
Tunaya,
that is used in war has been used
Tunaya.
by them. What are you
Okay,
talking about?
Tunaya.
What
What is
culture?
that?
I think
Tunaya.
I
What
think
is that?
Nigeria is just being argumentative.
Yeah, I
No,
think so
What
too.
is
I don't
wrong
like when
is
people
wrong.
start
What is right
pointing,
is
saying
right.
Africa has this toxic culture. When you are the culture you are sitting in,
No,
just because you are comfortable here doesn't mean it is all good too.
so
So,
Nigeria, we as Africans, we can't show to other people, other races that we are bad, we are wicked, we are toxic. We can't show that. We can do better.
Of course, we
We
can do
have
better.
good
I agree with
people.
that.
We have good people in our midst. Let's show other races that we are good people. Let's show the good side of us.
Aha! I agree with that 100%.
so, Tunaya, are you telling me that just when we point out the toxic aspects of, an African culture, now all of a sudden we have to compare it to Western culture? If you really want to do that for us to compare, African to Western culture, I don't think you want to do that, because it's not gonna go the way
See,
you think it's gonna go. It's gonna hurt your feelings.
the very term toxic is a leading statement. You've already decided. You could you could ask, is it time to get rid of this
No,
culture because it's
no,
not serving us?
Tunaya.
Because the whole thing is based on context, and you are just
So,
using a term, a pejorative term, to describe an African this in way of life. So
Tunaya, I
I don't appreciate
understand.
that.
Tunaya,
To
I
Niger,
understand. You are the
what
word
this man
police.
did was very violent. We are not violent people. We cannot show people that we are violent people. We are not.
What? You
We can
think
do
this they are
better.
not violent? You mean the Europeans are not violent? Is that what we are trying to say?
Tunaya. So
They are the
showing
most
this woman,
violent group in the world.
Do
Tunaya.
you see them slapping each other in the McDonald's? Do you see
So
that here
because
in the
they didn't
UK?
slap each other in the McDonald's, that makes them less
So why
violent?
should we do that? Why should we do that? Are we
Brito,
even teaching the younger ones the correct way of living? No,
Brito,
we are not.
Brito, Tunaya doesn't even believe in what he's saying. Okay?
I don't know
Because
what you're
first of
saying.
all, first of all,
He's
first
just
of
being
all, if
argumentative,
okay,
and it's baseless.
let's face
Your
reality.
arguments are baseless.
You
Tunaya
What
see,
is wrong is wrong. What is
Tunaya
right is
feels
right.
Tunaya
everybody's afraid of
feels.
the question that I've
Wait a
asked.
minute.
That's why
No,
they've not answered
okay,
the
let me
question about
answer it.
abortion, and they were like running all
No,
over the place. The
no.
point is, there is no moral equivalence that you can say the West is better than Africa, because everybody is
We
doing
are not
different things
saying
at
that.
different times.
We are
Nobody's
not saying
saying
that. We are not
And neither are
saying
they
West
better,
is better
exactly,
than
neither are they
African
better
culture. We
than
are not
us.
saying that.
Okay,
That's not the
agree with
question
that.
at the table here.
Tunaya.
That's not
Don't
the
call
Tunaya.
question.
an African culture toxic.
The
You
It
can
question
is
say
is,
it's
toxic.
time for us to
we
get rid
can
of
do
it.
better.
Tunaya,
We are
it is
good people.
toxic. Tunaya, you want to talk about Western culture versus African culture? Why don't we name, things tick for tack? Let's talk about, who respects humans more, who allows freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom to think, who doesn't abuse children. Let's go toe to toe, since that's what you want to compare. You don't see
Mm-hmm.
Western people that live in Western culture, running to African cultures. You don't hear Western people giving references saying, you see, the Africans do this, but you hear Africans do
Mm.
this all the time. You can never talk without using, Europeans as an example. Right now, where we're talking here, you are in a country where you feel much safer, more secure, able to do what you want to do without any
Exactly.
hindrance than your own country that you are trying to hail here as the best culture, but you are not over there. So save me this type of talk, because this doesn't make any sense.
You see,
Africans don't believe in freedom, and it shows in the environment, it shows in the way people think, it shows in the way people express themselves. So don't come here trying to tell me my way, you know, oh, you think like the West. You know, when you tell me I think like a Westerner, I take it as a compliment. That is your way of telling. That is, wait, let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. Hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish.
I was feeling
Hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish. That is his way. When an African tells you that you think like a Westerner, that's their way of saying you are smarter than me. You know, you think logically, you think open-mindedly. Because how can you tell an African, a fellow African, saying you think like a Westerner? I'm giving you both sides of the coin here, you know. But if you want to compare this woman slapping somebody to what happened in World War II, you know, World War 13, to Nigeria, you're being dishonest and you don't want to have a real conversation.
See, you just made the point that I was concerned about. You are trying to say our culture is less than theirs. That's what you are doing, and you are pretending that that's not what you are doing, and you just acknowledged it.
Oh, I'm pretending.
This is the point. But you just said it just now yourself, and that's what this lady didn't catch on to. That is what he is doing.
So are you saying does Nigeria have better laws, you know, better human rights records than the UK where you are?
This guy, you really don't understand life. So let me
my
something.
question.
Like I asked you the question now.
Does the UK, the UK where you are at, the UK, does Nigeria have better laws, better human rights records than the UK? Because you know, countries' laws are based on the culture, the way the people, you know, interact with each other and how they see each other. Does Nigeria have better laws? Does Nigeria have better laws, you know, and treat people better than the UK?
Not at all.
Of course not. Of course not.
Okay,
now, let me finish my point. Don't just keep talking. But when you say who is treating overall the population of the world, because you're talking about their own people.
I'm talking about the UK, where you are in Nigeria. That's what I'm talking about.
See, if somebody decides to go into their own home and take care of their families, and then all the people next door to them, they've just gone ahead and massacred everybody there and left the people that are not, the people that are ill, you know, mentally ill in charge of the next door houses. And then they go back home and say, look at us, we look so good. We are so good. Aren't we decent? Look at them, they are barbarians. Who is the barbarian?
I don't get what you're saying.
What you are saying is that you are pretending as if just because these people are nice here doesn't mean they are not responsible for all kinds of manners of inhumanity.
So what is stopping Nigerians from treating Nigerians like human beings and putting in good laws, treating their fellow Nigerians like humans?
I just told you why.
Oh, so it is white people's fault that a Nigerian,
they conquered Africa. They destroyed the place. Come on, hold on. Let me finish. They conquered Africa,
what was in Africa before colonization? They have skyscrapers. They have scientists.
They were more generous to each other than now.
Please.
See, there are many. Now. You must acknowledge that because we are richer than them.
That's not true. Most parts of Africa during colonization, they've never even had contacts with white people. It's just the administration. Okay, these people were there in West Africa. In West Africa, people were there conquering each other, selling people into slavery. They had slave markets. You know, people are doing wicked things. So today, you cannot blame this on white people. They have. Wait a minute. Nobody is stopping Africans, you know, from not being toxic to one another. Nobody is stopping Africans from not practicing, you know, this rampant and toxic, you know, corruption that is happening there. Nobody is stopping the police in these countries and the judiciary not to be corrupt and you know, base things on money, kidnapping, you know, people. This is all taking place in Nigeria.
Have
So
you
let's not.
heard of that prison experiment that they did in the US? There's a prison experiment that they did. They put friends in
Tunaja,
charge of a prison.
I worked in a prison. I was a
let me
corrections
finish my
officer.
point now. Let me finish my point.
I already read about that.
Okay.
What you're about to say, Tunaja,
Okay, so you know about that. So
Tunaja,
see, don't keep stopping me.
Tunaja,
You know
I've worked in a prison for 8 years. I can tell you
don't want
right
me to
now.
learn. That's why, because you know the point I'm making is dismantling what you are saying. Point is that when you pretend that if you know about that research, you know the conditions people are in affects their behavior.
No. Again, you are not speaking the truth here. You know, and I'm sick of it. People, the fact of the matter is, you have left Nigeria to go to the UK for a reason, because you know they are governed by better laws. That's why you are there. You know, you didn't leave Nigeria, you know, to go to Congo. You didn't leave Nigeria to go to Cameroon. You didn't leave Nigeria to go stay in Ghana. I have in fact heard you and Ghanaian getting an argument, you expressing your discontent because you know they attack Nigerian shops, you know, discontent. You know, is it white people that put them up to this? This is this is common in African countries where Africans, you know, they would attack other Africans who they say is not from their country. The Westerners are not doing this. This is why Africans flood to these countries. So let's not sit here. Let's not sit here and pretend that these things are good for Africans. The only way, because you say the progress.
I never
of
said
Africa.
it was good for Africans.
Okay, well, my thing is, you know, I'm not the type that would come and say, oh, I want Africa to progress, but then lying to the people. That's not what I do. You know, the truth is uncomfortable, and I'm going to speak it. You know, progress for people to change is not just seeing physical things. It starts in the mind. And unless and until you accept the truth, you cannot change. Because if you're trying to make the argument and even trying to accuse me of saying the African, you know, culture in its entirety is what I'm saying is toxic, that is dishonest. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, that's the best point you've made in all of the debates.
No,
I'm not sure you knew that when you were saying it,
but again, we even have
Can I come in, please?
Brito, go ahead.
Yeah. Is this woman on vacation here in the UK, or does she live here?
It sounds like she lives there.
She should know better. She should know better. I'm from the Gambia, right?
Right.
When I was living in the Gambia, my mom used to send me all over the place. I used to do a lot of things for my mom. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I'll be tired, but I just can't tell my mom that I'm not going. Do you understand? But here I live with my child. She's nearly 7. Yeah? This girl will tell me, oh, mommy, I'm tired. I can't. And I don't have to force her.
Right.
I don't have to force her. In fact, I have to beg her. Could you please help me? Could you please give me that? You don't need to force your kids here.
Or scare them.
You go to Rome, do as the Romans do. You are here in the UK. Follow their rules. Follow their laws. You can't just behave as if you are living in the village of Kiang or Badibu or whatever.
Or Kuntaya.
You understand?
I think
you can't behave like that.
From Badibu.
Even those people from the villages, when they come over to the city or in the towns, there are certain behaviors that they behave. We are like, oh, she's from the village. You know straight away.
Yeah.
Because you people don't roll like that. So it's the same thing. When we come here, let's try to roll as they do. Common sense.
Tunaja wants to sound like those.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. You have to behave properly when you go to some other person's place. But I was concerned that what this guy is doing is trying to, some people often they miss when they are saying something. You have to say it constructively. That's why I agreed with his last point. He was trying to come across as saying African culture is toxic.
No,
and
but Tunaja, you missed the beginning.
I wasn't coming like that though. I was saying some of our bad cultures should stay at Heathrow Airport. We shouldn't enter with them in the UK.
You see, you call it bad.
You understand?
Some of the cultures that are not acceptable here should be left there.
Exactly.
That's you see, because subliminal, some things we say, we don't know the impact it has.
Tell
when
us
you
the
say
impact.
It's bad, when you say it's
yeah,
bad,
but when we come here, when we come here, our first year of living here, there are a lot of things that they teach us. Because they notice that, oh, this guy is new here or this woman is new here. They'll teach you. They'll show you how to do things. So you can't just live here for decades and then you're still behaving as if you're living in Kia. No, you can't.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. You can't, like I said, I agree with the point. It's the way it is defined. Because there's a very thin line with saying, oh, you should leave your own culture at the door. From saying,
but Tunaja, that's not what she's saying. Tunaja,
bring your good cultures. They appreciate it.
Don't. There is no good or bad. Just say leave your culture at the door. You see, when you say good or bad, you're saying theirs is good.
Okay, Tunaja.
No. Them too. Do you not think that they learn some things from us? Do you not know that?
When they come to Africa, do you tell them to leave their culture in
no,
UK and not go to Africa?
That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, they too learn some. These people learned a lot of things from all over the place, all over the world. Do you not know that?
So when they go to Africa, would you tell them to leave their bad culture or their culture in the UK, at the gates of the airport?
So Tunaja, you don't think?
No, hold on.
They know that they shouldn't come with their bad cultures there. They know that they shouldn't come with their bad cultures there.
Okay,
so we shouldn't come with our bad cultures here as well.
Because she will say
Brito, the problem with Tunaja, right? Tunaja thinks he's in a competition with white people. So
this is why his arguments are baseless.
Yeah, it's always about
becoming self-hating.
Saying your own things are bad, put the emotions away. Put the emotions away.
Has nothing to do with emotions. I'm being fair.
You're not listening.
Tunaja, can you let her talk, please?
Go ahead.
Put your emotions away. Bring in the good culture. Leave the bad culture at Heathrow Airport if you're entering here. And then you behave as a normal human being. This is what they want to have in their country.
Okay, I agree with that.
This is what they encourage.
But I will also encourage you to leave their own bad culture at the airport.
Tunaja, are you in your? Are you in Nigeria?
I feel that people don't do that. They always say it in only one direction.
Okay, let her finish. Let her finish.
Right, Tunaja, why do you think there are so many African kids in care here in the UK? Because we bring along some of our bad cultures. We beat our kids in the house. Some of these kids, when they go to school, do you know what? They report us. Let me give you a typical example that happened to me. I've got a 6-year-old, yeah? She's nearly 7. When I'm brushing her teeth, right? I'll try to brush her tongue. So I asked her to pull her tongue out for me to brush her tongue, right? She knows this is a good thing. But do you know what? She went and told her teachers that my mom pulled my tongue whenever she's brushing my teeth. And then do you know what? The next day, social services knocked at my door and they were like, oh, we suspected there are some abuses going on here. What's wrong? What have you done to the kid? And I was like, what's going on? Then they explained to me that, oh, your daughter said you pulled her tongue. I was like, where does that come from? But when they sat down and explained everything to me, I was like, oh, I brush her teeth as I do mine. When I brush her teeth, I brush her tongue. And then they later understood. So you just can't abuse kids here. You can't. Even in Africa, people are trying to get away from that. You can't come to my house and beat. Even you can come from Nigeria and then you come to my house in Gambia and then you want to beat my kid. Come on, I'll beat you up or we'll fight.
Tunaja, that is Tunaja beating children. Tunaja beating kids
this simple concept?
is bad.
All I'm saying
What
is
people
calling our culture
Tunaja,
a bad one.
It's
It
abuse.
is abuse. We should understand.
Oh my
abuse
God.
is abuse.
People don't understand.
So
I'm seeing it
wait
from
a
a
minute.
slightly different point of view. You are not seeing what I'm saying. I agree with what you are saying about the abuse here. You can say that it's wrong here. You can't do it here.
No, even in Africa,
What we are telling you is, even in Africa, more and more people are becoming educated. You understand? People are knowing their rights. People know, this is wrong, this is right. You understand? People are getting away from the bad culture, the bad practices that we were used to. We are trying to get away from that. So you can't just
we're used to.
Pardon?
See, the practices we're used to is what created the human race.
Tunaja, that is not true. That is not
the
true.
founders of the Western society that you're talking about were practicing these things when they founded the Western society.
Whatever they practice, right?
It was these standards.
Tunaja,
What they used to build the Western society.
Why do you think they have laws? Why do you think they have laws? Do you not think they are trying to get away from the bad practices that their ancestors were doing? They are trying to purify their society. That's the reason why they have laws.
Telling you that they would change very quickly the moment the environment changes again.
Tunaja, that's not true. Tunaja, hold on.
Tunaja, you know, when the whole war started, there was barbarism, there was cannibalism. Are we practicing those? We are trying to get away from those practices, those bad practices. We are trying to purify our society. Why can't we let everyone live happily? Why would you abuse kids? What for?
Okay, let me explain something you need to understand about life. The way life works is that when you are in a certain state of development or whatever is happening, like a war is going on, the standards change. You can't use the same standard.
Tunaja, we're talking about standard right now. Tunaja,
finish.
Tunaja.
Jesus Christ.
No, wait a minute. Okay, because what you are saying, Tunaja, name European. You're talking about Western culture.
Japanese internment.
Wait, okay, Western culture. They have built their culture in a way according to their laws, where everybody from all over the world is benefiting. Name the African culture that everyone is benefiting from. Everyone is running there because of Africans have laws, they have cultures. That's why people are going there.
Yoruba culture has not done them any harm.
What?
Yoruba culture has not done
Who did the Yoruba culture benefit besides the Yoruba people?
So what is your problem?
No, name it. I don't know anything. I don't practice Yoruba culture. You tell me.
Western culture benefit us?
Yes, quite.
The culture benefited us.
Oh, it's benefiting you right now. You're sitting in a Western country. I'm not gonna go sit. Tunaja. If I go live among the Yorubas, they would discriminate against me. It's a fact. Okay.
Culture is not the technology. I'm missing a point. Culture is not the technology.
So you don't think a culture has to be something that benefits you. It's a way of life. It entails everything. Okay, you have people beating their children, yelling at them, telling them, if you look in their eye, they would say you're
the same people that created all those laws are the ones that gave themselves about $20 trillion of loans.
Okay, you know what? This guy is just
me when I'm trying to make
this guy is not.
It's a solid point.
Tunaja, stick with culture.
You are lying to the people.
Tunaja, if you need money, Tunaja,
an equal playing field.
Tunaja, if Nigeria need money, if you want this money for Nigeria, tell them to print 2 trillion for themselves. Okay?
You can't see a serial killer that kills people all the time, and you tell them, oh, because he's smiling at one person, he's now a nice person. You can't do that. Don't pretend as if just because they wrote these laws to suit to make themselves look good, they suddenly, oh, the whole world is this in the other parts of the world is terrible. Let me tell you something. They started with
Tunaya.
There's a pattern.
Tunaya, sorry, let me come in. Tunaya, that's not what we are talking about. What we are talking about is even these people, where they started, they were practicing some bad stuff, but they are trying to purify their society. That's why they bring in all these laws. And
true.
you know they keep changing their laws.
True.
If something bad happens today, for example, know that within a month or two, they are going to change laws.
And when something really bad happens, they will change laws in the opposite direction. Haven't you seen that happen before?
Tunaya, is this happening?
Oh my God! Stop getting involved. I'm trying to ask this. I know you are not honest in answering the question.
Oh, really?
Answer. Yes, you are not being honest. Haven't you seen them change laws in the opposite direction before?
Okay, Tunaya, you are in the UK because their laws work for you, it favors you. And there are plenty of Nigerians there. In fact, some of them are running for office. Name an African country where a white man, a Chinese, can go there and run for office. In fact, when they even give like an honorary chieftaincy, which is not a real chief, you know, to say, oh, this guy is chief. All of you Pan-Africanists on the internet went crazy. You showed us how close-minded you guys are. Even though the Western culture is open to you to express yourself, you know, other people are not allowed to. So if you guys, wait a minute, even children, even children, here our topic is, it's about the culture of stifling the thinking of children, abusing children, putting your hands on children, and you call that a culture. If that's a culture, then that is toxic and violent. That's what we're talking about. You want to talk about white people, the money they have and all. Name the African country that created wealth for themselves, and then they invited the rest of the world to come and benefit from it, like you're benefiting from the white man in the UK. Tell us.
See, what you are missing the point of is that like you now, you have an American citizenship. Can an American official take away your citizenship from you?
No.
But yeah, the UK just passed a law to go backward so that they can remove people's citizenship from them even without notice now. So what I'm telling you is that based on circumstances, they can change the law in the opposite direction.
Well, and again, what's that have to do with African?
I'm trying to let you know that the environment
abusing children
is what informs behavior. It's
again,
not about good or bad. You are using their own standard right now to judge Africans that are in a totally different situation.
So Tunaya, what benefit would it be? Because, you know, we're supposed to be loving and, you know, we are not violent people, right? What benefit is there for somebody, you know, to maltreat their children, abuse them, or an outsider feeling that they have the right to quote unquote discipline someone else's child, you know, which is violent.
What is the benefit of having abortions, of killing millions of children every year?
What's the answer the question?
What is the benefit of killing millions of children every year?
I know.
I hate when people act as if one part is clean and the other, because the other side is sanitized,
so
and the other side is bad.
Tunaya, what's the benefit of
they are all bad.
Tunaya, what's the benefit of the abortion? Wait a minute. What's the abortion? Wait a minute. Since you want to go that route, what's the benefit of the people that are aborting their children in Nigeria? What's the benefit of it?
So you mean people don't beat their children here? If you want to say that, what's the benefit of the ones beating their children here?
They still go to jail. It's still
like
bad.
I said, they are all bad. They are all bad. That's what I'm trying to say. But you are trying to make it look like one side is bad and the other side is good. I'm telling you that you should not start stigmatizing the African culture.
Can you give me 1 second, please?
Culture.
Can I come in, please?
Go ahead.
Do you have kids in the UK?
I don't answer personal questions.
No, I don't know you.
Yeah, I know.
Don't know you.
But I don't generally answer personal questions because
none of us know you. I mean, we just see your mask emoji. You know,
let me give you an example. Let me just give you an example. For example, if you have a child in the UK, are you going to beat your kids?
Of course not.
At home and in public, are you going to beat them?
No, I agree with you on that. I've always agreed with you on that.
You know it's wrong. You can't
That
do
is not
it. Even if
my
you do it at
argument.
home, they are going to tell their teachers. They can even
Exactly.
call the police.
Exactly.
They can call the police.
True. I agree. I've always agreed with you on that. So let's not get that twisted.
What's your argument
listen,
then?
My daughter is in year 2. Do you know she knows how to call the police? Do you know she knows how to express herself very well? I call her a storyteller.
That is very important that she's able to do that.
So,
yeah.
If I do any bad to her here, the next day she's going to explain everything to the teachers, and I'll be in trouble. I know that. So I better behave myself as a parent. If I can't do that to my own kid, what gives me that audacity to slap someone else's kid in public? For God's sake, in public. Why should I do that?
I think Afredimus asked me a question that what is my issue with this?
And
my
also, Tunaja, give us the link.
Tunaja, now you Nigerian woman, then no more, they will do that.
Tunaja, give us the link. Tunaja, give us the link. The link to where you saw that the UK now can reverse people's citizenship. Can you?
Oh my God! So you didn't know that? Oh my God! There's a petition that they are going now to.
No, you said it's a law. Please drop the link so we can read it.
Oh yeah, let me see what I can find the petition. I think I can find the petition faster than I can find the link.
Well, another petition. I'm talking about it being a law. Because I can set up a law today and say.
Let me send you the link now. I've got a link here.
Anyone can.
So you can see this thing. So it's they put it inside the bill quietly, so nobody will see it. That's the Home Secretary. It's on Guardian. It's not like it's an establishment.
So it's not a law.
It's there now. No, see, it's already put into a bill.
It's not a law.
I'll leave you guys.
Okay.
See, it's the ruling party that put inside the bill, and they're going to pass it. What are you talking about? They have the majority. They're going to pass it as good as done.
Oh,
that's why people are going through a petition to stop it.
Oh, now, Tunaja, you're worried about them changing the law. I'm
not worried about them changing the law. I'm telling you that they react according to the situation they find themselves. They can go backward any moment.
Tunaja, you are obsessed with white people.
I'm not.
You are. Because today, Tunaja, this topic, right? This topic was strictly about African. Before you came here,
I'm tired of Africans doing this self-hating thing where they are willing to call out our own this thing versus I just told the lady that if they go to Africa too, you should call them out too. Say they should not bring their bad culture there too.
So
I have to say that.
So didn't you see African countries talking about how people they're not gonna allow same-sex marriages.
Oh,
don't you see this all over? Don't you see this in African countries? And Tunaja, like the person said here, he said naturalized citizenship can be reversed based on certain crimes, even in the USA. I know that. Okay, if you commit terrorism, of course, But my thing is, you started, ballooning the argument. And then you turn around, you said you agree, you wanted to talk about that, the 10 trillion and all. The reason why I stopped that, because I know when you start going into that spin, you are going to completely derail the topic, and that's not the topic today.
Fair point. If that is the case, fair point. But my point was that you asked me a critical question. What is the difference then? For me, the difference in the way we talk about this is that we start calling our culture toxic. And we're not without taking into consideration
Tunaja, again, you're trying to balloon it.
You do that without maybe you do that unconsciously. I don't know.
Tunaja, this topic did not say African culture is toxic. That's not what the topic is.
You sure?
Really, Tunaja. I'm the one that put up the show. And, that's what the conversation has been about. It showed the example that I'm talking about. And I pointed out that even though I gave everyone, the reality, which is people that do these things and they call it, toxic. They call it African culture, and this is violent, right? But they are calling it that. So either you agree with them that this is a good culture or bad culture. You see what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
I'm saying if they are all bad, they are all bad, and if they are all good, they are all good. The point is that they are all
But but
operating
but
in their own
but that's not.
context.
But that's not that. This is why I gave you I asked you to give me examples of the laws. You could not give me,
What law?
anything, and then you started talking about
Which law did you ask me for? I don't remember you asking about the law.
well, I asked you, the UK and Nigeria, who practices, better laws. That's what I asked
It
you.
depends on the question. You see, that's why you two ask me depending. When I asked you which culture is better, it depends on what law you are talking about. If it is a law for marriage, you can say maybe Nigerians are doing it better because they are staying longer in marriages. Or if it is a law for child this thing, yes, the UK has a better one. So you see, I like people when they are balanced. But when you just go
So
on
I'm
one
not
side and go,
balanced.
of course not, you are not. Well, under what
Wait,
illusion? What
wait.
world are you living in to think that you're
So
balanced, mister?
so I'm not balanced.
No, you're not.
Really?
You said one balancing and I agreed with it, but since then you never said anything balanced again.
Everything here is not about tit for tat. You came here, you try to make this about Europeans. That this is not about Europeans. The thing is, you should be able to talk about African behaviors and issues without mentioning white people. You do realize this, right?
Yes,
You
I
should
agree
be
with that.
okay. So that's what I'm doing. This is not about white people. You have to, like you even, Africa's behavior, how corrupt it is over there. You're blaming this on white people. You said the way Africa was, if we go back to that, people would be killing each other. Thanks to white people, they put borders around Africa and they
No,
built these
you see,
countries.
that's kind of language
Okay,
that is wrong.
that's
You see, when
all.
you talk about things, it's not just when there are certain things you say, then you concede things. I'm not blaming them for our situation. I'm explaining the
You
situation. I'm
always
not
do.
blaming them. See,
Everyone heard you.
there's a difference between
Tunaja,
blame
Tunaja,
and
before
there's
you
a
came,
difference between blame and saying this would do this stuff. If I say, okay, I went into a party and somebody punched my nose, I was the one that went into the party.
okay,
You see what I mean? So
Tunaja,
I'm not blaming them. I'm not
wait,
blaming the person that punched my nose.
Tunaja.
Go ahead.
I allowed, like you to push in your agenda because that's what you do. But that's not what the topic is about. We're talking about somebody beating up someone's kid and calling
Mm-hmm.
it African culture. That's what this topic is about. And you came here prior to you calling in. Nobody was talking about white people. Nobody was saying
Of
all
course not. You
African.
won't.
Okay, nobody was saying African culture. All of it is toxic. That's not what. We've already asked the question. People that are doing this and calling it African culture. This is toxic. So my thing is, that's not what it's about. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And you talking about, it's not balanced whatsoever. I don't,
It's not
just
balanced. You know
just
why I
because.
say it's not balanced? Because you choose one area and you
Mhm.
call Africans toxic in that area. But
How
if you
many
look
how
at the
many how
ledger,
many how many of these topics did I do? How many?
you've done quite a few where you were
This is
talking
the
about
first.
African culture.
This is the first one.
We talked about again. Maybe it was in on some other channel when we were talking about
This is
slavery. I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about on your show. To be fair, you've said this in other
you mean
shows here.
because you don't like, just like your fellow here, the cure. She said she agrees with you. I'm not balanced. If for some reason, some of you Africans cannot think outside of the box. If someone doesn't say what you like, this person is not balanced. This person is not this. The fact of the matter is, for you to be able to receive treatment, first you have to diagnose the person, and the person have to agree that that's the disease they have and take the medication. But if you're always deflecting, you know because for some reason the way you sound like, oh, everything about Africa is just fine and dandy, and then you bring in white people, and when I don't want to talk about it, you're like, oh, you just want to, you just promote white people, or you try to accuse me of,
See,
when I say things,
if you had just said
hold
that,
on,
okay, okay.
hold on, you, for some reason, I don't know, man, you worship white people because everything. I know. I mean, my mind is blown because, I know that Africans that worship, white people, they really, they turn out, they say it in a way as if they hate white people, but they cannot say anything without giving the attribute, the example to white people. It is okay for you to be able to talk about the toxic part of Africa, because I see you guys forming all these panels talking about why Africa is behind, why Africa, who do you think is keeping Africa behind? We constantly see Africans themselves, they like to say the leaders, but these leaders are from homes, they're from the culture, the greed, the things they call culture. If it's toxic, we should be able to point these things out. We should be able to point these things out without somebody coming accusing someone constantly. Because if white people are constantly on your mind, and you cannot take responsibility without pointing to white people while you live in white people's country, that is pretty weird to me. But Tunaja, we've hit 3 hours. I'll let you give the last word. Don't go more than 1 minute, and we'll
Yeah,
close the
right.
show.
After you just did three.
Well,
Okay. Okay, I'll try to keep
I'm the
it. I'll try
host.
to keep it very, very
I'm
short.
the host.
So the point is that I agree with highlighting negative aspects of our culture, but I disagree with using terms like toxic to describe them, because everything our forefathers did and our people did, we're reacting to the situations we found ourselves, and we owe it to ourselves to try to improve ourselves. Hence why the discussion should have come from the point of view of, okay, this is something that just happened. It has shed a light on some aspects of our culture that maybe we want to get rid of, But when you start from the point of view of saying this is toxic, and this side that say that this behavior is toxic is the side has got it right, no, they too will turn. The moment they see it doesn't favor them anymore, they will turn. So this is my point. I'm just trying to make that clear, and it's very, very short, and I hope I've kept to my 1 minute.
And again, Tunaja, since you missed the beginning of the show, it's not a competition between white culture and African culture. We just, over here, I called it exactly like it is, and people, agree that what that woman did was wrong. That's what the topic was about. But Tunaja, thank you
We're
for
all agreed
coming.
on that.
Well, then there's no argument here. You just wanted to push in your agenda, your Pan-Africanist agenda
What
once
is
again.
it, Pan-Africanism? I'm
And
just saying you need to know how to talk about your people, because everything else you talk about the other side seems to be positive.
Well, who's the perfect person to talk about, quote unquote? Because when you talk to me, you make it sound like, when you want to discredit what I'm saying, you say, oh, you have a Western way of looking at things. But
because you say everything Western is good. How many things Western have you ever called bad? Apart from the ones happening in the black community anyway.
What's the topic about?
Name it. The fact that you have to rack your brain. The fact that you have to rack your brain to find
the burden of proof.
That tells me what I'm saying.
Tunaja, the burden of proof is on the person making the accusation.
I asked you a question. I wasn't making an accusation.
So Tunaja, if you are speaking about, building Africa, and it's about Africans thinking, why do you need? Wait a minute. What do you? Hold on. Why do I need to come here and speak bad about white people? Why?
What is the negative thing you've said about the West?
Why do I need to?
Oh, because you don't see any negative in them, and yet you are happy to see negative in your own.
Oh, I'm happy.
Yes, you're very happy for that because you are so you don't ever want to see negative on the other side, but you want to see negative on the other side. Hence why you may not be entitled to talk on one side because you are not balanced. That is my point. You are not balanced. And you are
The
even
balance,
owning up to it.
Tunaya, you found white people's culture and laws to be safer and better than Nigerian laws and culture. That's why you're there.
The law
So
is not the reason why I'm here.
let's leave it at that. If Nigeria was safer and a more viable place, you would be there. You wouldn't be here arguing with me with your mask emoji, you know. But I'll let you go. You know, we've hit the 3-hour mark. Come again. You know, next time, go ahead, write your list. You know,
don't worry.
all the bad, all the bad,
you've ever said about the West because you've never, but you are very happy to say bad things about your own, and that is why you are not balanced.
Go say hello to your white women for me too, Niger.
You're welcome.
Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys see, anytime, don't worry, anytime Two Niger comes, you know, he would try to derail the topic. And I have to tell you, it's just like in the US, for instance, when a black person, like black child, they speak good English, you know, they're not using slang, they would tell them, oh, you talk like a white person, meaning AKA you talk smart. And these people subconsciously, they don't even know, they see white people as much smarter than blacks. So that's what they're telling you. So an African person, the same thing. You guys saw, even MC Cham wrote it here, Amilcar, their own father saying, oh, you act like white person. That's their way of telling you you're smart. Again, you guys heard Two Niger come here and say, oh, you think like a Westerner. And I get this from several of them. They think, they want to feel good. They want you to come. If you say things that you see in Africans or black person doing it that is detrimental and toxic, they want you to say bad things about white people because they think that's what would help them. So I don't get it. Okay? This topic, you know, what that woman did, I'm going to repeat. If she's saying that's a culture, that's a toxic and a violent culture. And she is learning that right now. She's learning it. She got arrested. And for those of you that want to do that at the same time, know that that's what's going to happen. Okay? Thank you. And if you're new here, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Okay? And share, because you know, so that these aunties, quote unquote, and your Two Nigers of the world who believe, you know, in this type of ideology, because you guys see how he tried to change the topic to saying, I said all African culture. But those of you that are logical and been listening, you know that's not what the topic is about. You know, it's not all, but most. Thank you. And I will see you guys tomorrow. We're going to have a hot topic here. Goodbye.
Well, none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots, yeah. None of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots. I'm telling you now, the truth. Telling you, yeah, the truth. You have to go back to the roots. Go to the roots. Yeah, man, you know, this is Benjamin out of the Smiling Coast, West Africa, Gambia, representing for the one and only Abu, the big man you don't know, the Soninke warrior, the man that brings the truth, Soninke warrior, the sign of enlightenment, the Soninke warrior, the righteous and the true African. Abu, reveal the truth to them, you know, no matter how them try run from it, because none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Yes, we have to dig back the roots, yeah. Fire!